Almighty God, who in thy infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of rulers and councils for the welfare of society and the just government of man, we beseech thee to behold with thy abundant favor us, thy servants, whom thou hast been pleased to call to the performance of such important trusts in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Let thy blessing descend upon us here in this Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in thy presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner as to promote thy honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests thou hast committed to our charge. All which we ask in the name and for the sake of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. The Honorable House stands suspended for 15 minutes. Members are to remain seated during opening ceremony.
Good morning, everyone. Honorable Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica, Honorable Ministers present, Leader of the Opposition, other members of Parliament present, our esteemed judges, our youth parliamentarians, their teachers, friends, invited guests, and students in the gallery. Good afternoon to all. It is my honor and my distinct pleasure, and I have to add absolute elation, that now we can have another youth parliament, and the response was so overwhelming that it made every effort that we made to bring it about was worth our while. I don't have the pleasure of thanking. That is going to come later. But it would be remiss of me if I didn't thank the trainers, those persons who helped us get the young persons ready, and the staff of the House of Assembly for bringing us thus far this afternoon. I need to thank also the Honorable Prime Minister and his members of Cabinet who came with him in a very special way, because they have actually left Cabinet to come to be with the young people. And so I will keep my welcome brief, simply to say, welcome one and all, and thank you for being here with us today. I would therefore now call on Honorable Justina Charles. Is she here? The members who came. Unfortunately, I don't have my glasses, so I can't see. Yes, also we can ask the Minister for Community Development to give a few words of encouragement to the young people. Oh, I didn't realize you were here. Well, Mrs. Charles first, please. I'm sorry about that. I don't have my glasses on, and I have very strange eye vision at the moment.
Pleasant good afternoon, and let me recognize our dear Madam Speaker, the Honorable Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance of this country, my cabinet colleagues, the Leader of the Opposition and other members of Parliament who are here, the youth parliamentarians who are sitting here, the students and the well-wishers, teachers, principals of the various schools represented here. Let me say pleasant good afternoon to all of you. And to me, it's a pleasure to be here with you and to see you so immaculately dressed and looking really like the members of cabinet, of government and the opposition as you sit and deliberate and debate on topics of interest in this country. It's an opportunity for you to, I guess your mere presence says that you've been following and understand the procedures of Parliament and you want to express it. And it is also an opportunity as young people for you to express your points on the topics that are before you for debate. I really want to wish you the very best because you are the potential future politicians of this country. And so it's an opportunity. I'm sure it's going to generate a lot of interest in you as it relates to politics and as it relates to the development of the country and how we look at how we can govern this country effectively and efficiently. So I really want to wish you well, and I say it's a good start for you as young people and to continue the leadership realm in this country. God bless you and all the best for the proceedings.
I now call on the Minister of Social... Thank you, Mrs. Charles, Honorable Minister. And I now call on the Minister for Social Services and Gender Affairs to address the young people. And I have to tell the audience that the Minister was one of our trainers and assistants in getting the young people ready.
A pleasant good afternoon to everyone. Let me recognize among us the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Roosevelt Skerrit, other cabinet colleagues, the Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Linton, and other parliamentarians, the Speaker of the House, the judges, teachers, students, members of the House on both sides, government side and the opposition side. It was really a pleasure working with you all. And the topic before you today is one which is of great relevance. I heard you all yesterday. The debate was very good. You all have made a good start. I wish to encourage you. Those of you I heard, if you stay that vein, you will be contributors to the country in a very positive way. See this debate as your stepping stone into the development of the country. And I just want you all to have the temperament for this house, the respect for each other, and take positive lessons. Know that you are debating for your country and your love of country. And this is one of your first steps in that political realm. May God bless your debate. Be calm, don't be nervous, and just speak with authority and confidence, and you will get to places and you will do very well. Each one of you have the potential to win. The judges are there, but it's what you put into it and give your heart, and let's see the love of Dominica exuded in your delivery. May God bless your deliberations.
Thank you, Madam Minister. I now call on the Honorable Prime Minister and the Minister for Finance to give the young people a word of encouragement. Thank you, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I recognize you all as my colleagues, the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, members of Parliament, distinguished guests, the panel of judges, and of course the young people who are here in Parliament. I want to first of all congratulate you for doing this. I recall myself having done this. I was part of a youth parliament, I believe in the last year of my secondary school education. At that time, the parliament was hosted at the ministry building. That's where the parliament was at the time. And I felt that it was a very good experience where young people could be elevated to that level to discuss a topical issue. Because you must never see yourself as just young people. You must see yourselves as leaders. And each of us has a role to play in national development and being part of the national discourse. And I feel that the topic that you have selected, or the motion that you have before you, is in fact the most topical issue, not only in Dominica, but the Caribbean. Because it's not only our country that has declared that it wishes to be a climate resilient nation, the entire Caribbean community, CARICOM, has also declared that. Because we recognize and we believe that climate change is real. And if it is real, then what do you do to place your country and yourselves and citizens in a better position to treat with these disasters? Because they're going to come. And they're going to come more frequently, and they're going to come more ferociously. And therefore, we have to prepare ourselves. And there's no country that has achieved that feat, and it's a learning process. We have the backing of the international community. There are countries that are committed to providing funds to us and assisting us to achieve that ideal, that vision for our country. In my respectful view, we have no choice in this matter. It is something we must do for not only ourselves, but succeeding generations. And there will be different ideas, different perspectives of how do we achieve this, different viewpoints. All of these must be put together towards making this happen. And my hope and prayer is this, that all of us will embrace this vision and recognizing that we need to do this for our country and for the world. I want to commend you. Being in public office is and must continue to be a lofty pursuit. It is something we need you and we need the future. You leaders here to play a part. And I really want to commend you and the teachers and Madam Speaker, who has been so infused by this since she became the Speaker of the House of Assembly. And you have our full support. I wish you all the best in your debate. I am sure that you would have done extensive research and you're prepared to make your contribution. Do not be distracted by your opponent. You know what you want to say and say what you want to say. And do not be perturbed by the side comments, because your opponents will certainly try to distract you from your fundamental points. But stick to it, okay? And I wish you all the best. And I have no doubt that all of you will do well, as your predecessors have done in respect to the other debates we've had, the youth parliaments you've had. So I wish you all the best, and every one of you will be a winner. I know there'll be prizes for different categories, but the mere fact that you are here and the mere fact that you spend time to prepare for this is a major achievement on your part, and I want to congratulate you on this and to commend you on this. So I wish you all the best, my dear friends, and God bless you, and may God bless your proceedings, and may God bless our country. And Madam Speaker, I wish you all the best. So you're in fact in charge of the House, you know. You're in charge of the House, but the House, as everything, is governed by rules, the standing orders. Sometimes it is not viewed that way, but there are rules, and you have to respect the rules, even if you think that your rights are being trampled upon. But the rules are the rules. Once the Speaker says this, then you have to respect it. Obviously, you know, you can pursue the matter in court, if you wish. That is your mock court, you know. But I wish you all the best. I really wanted to stop by to greet you. I wish I could stay with you for the entire day, but my responsibilities are way up here now. So I have to leave very, very soon to go back. But I'm really happy for you, and I am reminiscing on my own experiences and so on. How old are you? 19. 19. And what age do you want to be when you come into politics? What age?
About
20.
20.
20. That's not bad. Which form?
Prime Minister.
Which form? Which form? You college now?
My third year in college.
First year in college. Actually, I'll tell you this part in words. When I addressed the grammar schools, I was the head boy there at the time. I was leaving school, so I made final assembly. And I told the assembly of students that in 10 years' time, I want to be in parliament. And I did, in fact, achieve this in 10 years' time. So within 10 years, I graduated in 1990, in 2000 I was in parliament. So I wish you all the best and so on. I hope you're not going to run against me in vacants because... take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister and members who have taken time off their very busy cabinet schedule to be here with us. We do appreciate it. And I'm glad the Prime Minister appreciates the motion that we're going to be discussing. I see this personally as Dominica's way of becoming the Wakanda of the world. I look forward to that day. So again, I thank all the members of cabinet, and we'll move to the next step, which is resumption of the parliament for the business at hand. Thank you.
House resumes.
Confirmation of minutes of the meeting of Tuesday, 17th January 2018.
So we'll give the members a minute for them to peruse the minutes. A minute.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the minutes of the meeting of Tuesday, 17th January 2017 be confirmed as circulated. Madam Speaker, I beg to second this motion.
It has been moved and seconded. The minutes of the meeting Tuesday, 17th January 2018 be confirmed as circulated. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. The minutes of the meeting Tuesday, 17th January 2018 stand confirmed.
Announcements by Speaker.
Please make note that all cell phones should be turned off or placed on silent or vibrate.
Presentation of papers.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers to the table. Report of the Director of Audit of the Public Accounts for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2015.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table. Annual report of Dominica Social Security for the year ended 30th June 2017.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table.
Government notices.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceedings, I will be taking the first reading of the bill standing in my name on the order paper. Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceedings, I will be moving the motion standing in my name on the order paper.
Unofficial notices.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceeding, I would be asking the question standing in my name on the other paper.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at a later stage of the proceedings, I will be asking the question standing in my name on the order paper.
Questions.
Can the Minister of Housing tell this Honorable House how many housing units have been donated to Dominica since Hurricane Maria, and how many of these have satisfied the building requirements as it relates to Dominica Building Code?
Madam Speaker, Dominica has received confirmed promises of 1,650 houses by various development and humanitarian agencies in response to post-Hurricane Maria reconstruction. All of the dwelling homes shall satisfy the building requirements as it relates to the Dominican Building Code and housing standards, since the various agencies are working collaboratively with the government in responding positively and impactfully to the repair and reconstruction program to satisfy Dominica's climate resilience agenda.
Madam Speaker, can the Minister of Agriculture tell this Honorable House what steps have been taken since Hurricane Maria to ensure that the agricultural sector is sustainable and that food security is assured?
Madam Speaker, the process began with assessments to determine the full impact of Maria on the sector. Once we understood the full impact, we sought to address the specific issues so as to address our food security needs. We recognized that there were farmers with root crops planted, and as such, we would have had to enable farmers to harvest that food. We began clearing access roads and feeder roads as a strategy to have food harvested. Madam Speaker, there was a need for production of vegetables, and as 100,000 seedlings of various vegetable types were produced and given to farmers along with other inputs to increase production. Inputs specific to the various subsectors have been given to the stakeholders to ensure production recommences, in which so doing will contribute to our food security. Madam Speaker, there were also an increased surveillance by the plant and animal staff looking for possible entry of pests or diseases for early detections and management. This would reduce the possible impact of pest and disease on our food supply. Also, Madam Speaker, in the fishing sector, needs were assessed, fuel and ice were given to the fishers to enable resumption of fishing. Assessments have been made in the forestry sector to ensure that the forests are dealt with in a systematic manner. Also, the National Abattoir was also reactivated by November 2017 using backup generators to ensure the availability of fresh pork and poultry for the resumption of the consumers. This also helped reduce losses to farmers since housing and feed were significantly affected and non-slaughtering would have caused death of animals. Lastly, Madam Speaker, for there to be sustainability and resilience in any system, there must be planning and identification of the measures that are required to ensure that the sector rebounds and in a sustainable manner. This process is continuing and helps guide the development of projects and programs that will help stimulate production, secure our food security, and in a sustainable manner.
Introduction of bills.
Madam Speaker, I move that the bill shortly entitled Marriage Amendment Act 2010 be read a first time.
I beg to second the motion.
The bill has been read a first time.
Public business, government business, motions.
Madam Speaker, whereas on the 18th and 19th of September 2017, the Commonwealth of Dominica was seriously devastated by Category 5 Hurricane Maria. And whereas, as a result of the passage of Hurricane Maria, many persons lost their lives, more than 80% of buildings, many roads, bridges, and other infrastructure were severely damaged or destroyed. And whereas, the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica has stated that it intends to ensure that Dominica build back better so as to withstand future hurricanes of such intensity and other such catastrophes, and has in fact appealed to and found support from the international community to do so. And whereas, Madam Speaker, there is considerable benefit to be derived when building back better, which involves making Dominica climate resilient. Be it resolved that the best way forward is for government to take all necessary steps to make Dominica become the first climate change resilient country in the Caribbean and the world.
Madam Speaker, I beg to second this motion.
Madam Speaker, I proceed at this prestigious moment to present my contribution before this honorable House. This beautiful Dominica is mine. It's yours, it's ours, and we must truly say that with pride. Madam Speaker, most esteemed youth parliamentarians, invited guests and well-wishers, ministers of parliament, the judges, and my lovely Dominicans, I bid you a warm good afternoon. When crisis comes our way, we finally begin to realize that community is the true, irreplaceable, and most important infrastructure that we possess. Therefore, we must ensure that we mold communities that can take care of each other, but must ensure that we build communities that can take care of themselves and adapt to climate changes. And that, my people, is true resilience. Climate change involves the behaviors that are individually negligible, whose impacts go far beyond the spatial and temporal constraints that define our sense of community. So, Madam Speaker, of course, we should definitely develop a sensible climate policy that emphasizes building resilience into our own capacity to adapt to climate changes, whether it be wholly natural or wholly man-made or somewhere in between, whether it be building up or breaking down, whether it be cooling down or warming up, it has to be done. Madam Speaker, we must face the harsh reality of climate change, the real and undeniable threat we are facing today, every single day. And our responsibility, therefore, is to ensure that we are 100% prepared to withstand anything. As a government, we believe in complete everything. Complete housing codes, complete healthcare systems, complete plans, complete goals, and complete resilience. And later in this debate, you will understand why. But you might be wondering, climate resilience, ducking natural disasters, becoming Wakanda of climate change? You might not seem to quite catch what I mean when I say that. So let me tell it to you this way. Leu kabati, fei pli meye, pligwo, eve pli fo. When we decide to build, we must ensure that we build stronger, bigger, and definitely better.
Will the member please translate the Creole?
I did. When we decide to build, we must build stronger, bigger, and better. While at the One Planet Summit in Paris, France, on December 12, 2017, Prime Minister Honorable Dr. Roosevelt Skerrit called for a scale-up on investments in building climate resilience. He elaborated that in order to build resilience to climate change, island states like Dominica require infrastructure, schools, churches, hospitals, homes, tourism, healthcare system, as for agriculture and utility services such as water, electricity, and telecommunications. He specifically went on to stress, Madam Speaker, that there is an unprecedented will to stem the emission of greenhouse gases, decarbonize the electricity sector, and significantly reduce reliance on carbon-based fuels for transportation. What a genius. But, Madam Speaker, we are quite aware that until developed and developing countries like China, India, and the United States take the necessary steps to mitigate the effects of climate change, our beloved Dominica will be just like a small pebble being dropped in a large pond, and that's our reality. Climate change in Dominica, therefore, requires each and every one of us to toil for our hearts, our hands, and our voices. And this simply means restructuring what we traditionally know to be regular. My fellow Dominicans, we must strive to strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity to climate-related hazards and natural disasters together. We must integrate climate change measures into national policies, strategies, and planning together. We must improve education, awareness raising, and human and institutional capacity on climate change mitigation, adaptation, impact reduction, and early warning together. We must promote the mechanisms for raising capacity in light of planning and management together. My Dominicans, we must get involved. We must rebound, but we must together as one family, as one nation, as one people. Because as one of our reigning road march champions so eloquently reminded us, Saki sao, c'est toujours sao. What is yours will always be yours, and this Dominica is ours, and we must truly say that with pride. But Madam Speaker, the effects are already creeping up on us and will become catastrophic unless we act now and fast. But the real question is not, are you, or even you ready? The real question is, are we? We can achieve these goals together through education, innovation, and ultimate adherence to our climate commitments, and this is very important. We can and must make the necessary changes to protect our lovely Dominica. Madam Speaker, we all have to take action in order to combat climate change and become the first climate change-proof island in the world, not just with stronger buildings and walls, but a stronger and united people. Madam Speaker, I see no reason why any one of us should sit back and simply agree that it's God's plan, it's the end of time, or that's simply the way it's supposed to be. My fellow Dominicans, aren't we not living lives that prepare us for the coming of Christ? In the same way, I will make it my point of duty as Prime Minister that we present ourselves and prepare our land for whatever climate change sends our way. As a government, we certainly believe that we should prepare every person and piece of infrastructure that are in our possession. We, as a people, are tired of running away, tired of crying, tired of mourning, tired of losing those and what we love. We are tired of being told that we cannot build to live comfortable because we are prone to natural disasters. And most importantly,
Madam Speaker, I request that the Honorable Prime Minister be given 2 extra minutes.
I second that.
In the interest of time of this competition, no one shall be given extra time to speak.
thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I rise to wholeheartedly support the motion put before this honorable House. In a perfect world, all Near Bill. Minister of Calnago Affairs, Near Bill.
Thank you.
In a perfect world, all organisms, humans or otherwise, are able to adapt to climate change without limits. Sadly, this is not the case, and with the increased awareness of the changing climate's devastating impacts, there has been much discussion on an appropriate remedy. Madam Speaker, this remedial strategy is known as climate resilience. As the Minister of Calnago Affairs, this is of great importance to my constituents. The residents of the Calnago territory are a symbol of Dominica's rich culture and should be equipped with the tools to become climate resilient as well. As a community whose citizens are
are dependent on agriculture, Madam Speaker, I am willing to work with the Minister of Agriculture in the integration of climate information in risk management and adaptation planning, all in an effort to build a sustainable agriculture sector in the Kalinago territory. Madam Speaker, the advice which extension officers give to farmers will be based on historical weather data and risk management related to current weather conditions. Madam Speaker, seeing that the agriculture in the Kalinago territory was recently devastated after the passing of Hurricane Maria, I believe farmers should be taught to optimize farm practices based on climatic conditions. Madam Speaker, this information will be relayed to the experts in the agriculture sector who will use this information to create future forecasts. Then, as Minister of Kalinago Affairs, I will ensure that the residents and the farmers in the Kalinago territory are equipped with this information. Madam Speaker, as new season approaches, farmers should be taking actions related to land, seedbed preparation, and selection of crops and varieties. All these will determine the yield of the farmers and the quality of the output and propel us one step further in becoming climate resilient in the Kalinago territory. Secondly, Madam Speaker, in the immediate aftermath of Hurricane Maria, there was much emphasis on rebuilding, which drove the residents of the Kalinago territory to build temporary, substandard houses, which may fall at the mere mention of another natural disaster. Madam Speaker, we can minimize these occurrences by building new homes or retrofitting the existing homes of the Kalinago residents.
You have 1 minute left.
But not completely overhauling the traditional methods that the Kalinagos are known for. Furthermore, with the Education Minister, we will apprise them of specifications when aiming for resiliency in building in the Kalinago territory. Failure to address these measures means failure to absorb the climate shocks in not only the Ministry of Kalinago Affairs, but the entire country. The agriculture sector, housing, education, and personal development are equally important to the Kalinago territory. In this regard, all measures and test practices are important to the people. As such, I support the motion as a representation of the nation's first people. Long live Dominica and long live Waitukubuli. Thank you.
Good day, Madam Speaker and guests. I am Jekwan Nikwent, and Minister of Science, Technology, Information, and Telecommunication. Madam Speaker, I stand here before this Honorable House, as did my colleague before me, to bring forth my support on this indisputable motion. Madam Speaker, climate change is here to stay. We cannot fight it, but we can only adapt to survive. My ministry is doing everything in its power to mitigate the effects of climate change on our beloved Dominica. As we speak, we are in communication with international agencies to educate our people on new standards, new methods, and the best practices. Madam Speaker, DBS, thanks to the late Kurt Matthew, has shown us that proper preparation and planning could restore communication 48 hours after a Category 5 hurricane. Madam Speaker, we are working with all radio stations to adopt and improvise on these standards. Madam Speaker, ham radios have proven to be a valuable tool when all cell phones and other forms of communication have been offline. But unfortunately, it is a private club. This means that not all communities have access to these functions. We propose that special government-funded ham radio operators be trained from each village. This will guarantee a working system for relaying messages during emergencies. Madam Speaker, the Bible says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge." Madam Speaker, Dominica shall not perish for lack of knowledge. My ministry, along with the Ministry of Education, is proposing that the continuation of educational programs that have already begun be continued in schools, radios, on the internet, and through community disaster groups. I would like to thank the international community, which has made significant contributions towards making Dominica the first climate resilient country in the Caribbean. I would also like to reiterate that this is the only way to survive climate change. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, as the Minister for Youth, Culture, Sports and Constituency Empowerment, it is my wish to add my contribution in support of the motion brought before this Honorable House. Climate resiliency, Madam Speaker, in my view, is not about preventing natural disasters, but about mitigating their effects and bouncing back quickly from devastating climatic events such as Hurricane Maria. As the Minister responsible for Culture, Youth, Sports and Constituency Empowerment, I believe that many steps can be taken to take these distinct yet related subfields and make them all climate resilient. As we know, Madam Speaker, Hurricane Maria inflicted severe damage on facilities for sports such as the Geneva Playing Field and Windsor Park Sports Stadium, among others. We must construct our sporting facilities, such as the proposed facility in Stock Farm, to a standard that they may be considered climate resilient. The effects of these facilities suffering such damage is felt most by our youth, Madam Speaker. Coping with stress levels as seen post-Maria is no easy task, especially for our youth. Playing sports is one way of coping with the stress. This is why, Madam Speaker, our recreational facilities must be able to withstand extreme weather. Recreation, however, is not the only way to help our youth. Young people in the immediate aftermath of natural disasters should be provided with psychotherapy in order to deal with the associated trauma. It is for this reason, Madam Speaker, I am proposing the formation of a team of counselors, psychologists, and psychiatrists who will be quickly deployed to provide much needed psychosocial support. This will enable a quick bounce back from natural disasters. This, Madam Speaker, is climate resiliency. After Maria, we had an abbreviated independence celebration. Our carnival celebrations were also affected similarly. These two times of year are when Dominicans get to showcase their culture, traditions, and talents. Cutting out key aspects, Madam Speaker, of these celebrations only dampens the people's spirits more. The solution to this is to build our venues such that they may withstand weather such as Hurricane Maria. This, Madam Speaker, lends itself to constituency empowerment. The decentralization of the aforementioned festivities can help greatly. Empowering individuals, communities, or districts to host events independent of the central government means that many of these events will still go on as planned. Many of our sporting facilities play host to these events. With they being climate resilient, the venues will be available after hurricanes such as Maria. We must, Madam Speaker, equip individual communities to commence recovery quickly. To do this, plans must be in place to deploy heavy equipment and power tools so that trained crews may immediately get to work. I am of the view, Madam Speaker, that...
You have 1 minute left.
Okay, Madam Speaker. I am of the view, Madam Speaker, that the opposition stands to criticize our plans of becoming the first climate resilient country in the world because they do not fully comprehend the significance of such a motion being brought before the House. Finally, Madam Speaker, in order to achieve our goal of becoming the world's first climate resilient country, we must make the choice. All hands must be on deck, including you opposition members, to make this dream a reality. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I, Kyle Richards, member of the opposition, rise in this honorable parliament to make my contribution to the motion put forward. I also request permission to read from my notes. If you try making something better than well, you won't be able to make it at all. William Shakespeare, King John I. The essence of this quote is that once something is good, then that should be enough. Madam Speaker, what is this focus on being the first climate resilient country in the Caribbean and the world? Shouldn't the goal be to obtain climate resiliency, Madam Speaker? Let us stop speaking about becoming climate resilient and actually, as the saying goes, take the bull by the horn and get on with the things that will increase our chances of being climate resilient since our very lives depend on it. Madam Speaker, the government should improve our water system, they should build shelters, and they should improve our infrastructure. However, Madam Speaker, our government's understanding of climate resiliency is seriously lacking if it hasn't yet realized that to achieve climate resilience, it is an all-man-on-deck battle. The devastating effect of climate change is unpredictable, unstable, and no discriminator of persons, and so much more. We must all be included in the fight and must do our part. For example, we must change from our anthropogenic behaviors and energy choices, or else no matter the steps the government takes, it is all for naught. Madam Speaker, to take all necessary steps for the government to attain climate resiliency, does that include government's example of decreasing dependency on fossil fuels? Therefore, I recommend that all present buildings be refitted to, as well as all new buildings now include renewable energies, something the government should have done a long time ago. Do we intend to improve our hydroelectricity resource and continue with our geothermal venture for real this time? Madam Speaker, in 2016, Dominica News Online quoted Honorable Raymond Blackburn, then Minister for Energy, as describing geothermal as Dominica's greatest hope, and that by the end of 2015, Dominica would almost be 100% renewable because of our hydro and small geothermal plant that was supposed to be built. But Madam Speaker, where is this plant? Madam Speaker, what has happened to these plans? I urge the government to do better this time and not stay in this planning stage in the quest for climate resiliency. Madam Speaker, it must happen now. Madam Speaker, we cannot continue to fool ourselves. The thought that storms like Erica and hurricanes like Maria occurred every 100 years is a fallacy, and a dangerous one at that. That has led our country to be very vulnerable, as can be seen when we were battered by Maria. Less than 3 months is left till the next hurricane season. Yet, what tangible changes has the government made in the way forward for climate resiliency, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, one can only hope that the plans to be climate resilient will not be like the plans for sustainable energy, and the people will see action rather than just have a plan today and see quickly swept under the rug tomorrow. This will leave us in positions of greater vulnerabilities, and this we cannot accept, Madam Speaker, and this we won't accept anymore.
Just a reminder, there should be no clapping in the House of Assembly.
Madam Speaker, I, J. Udnadesi, Parliamentary Secretary of Health and the Environment, stand to make my contribution to this debate. Whereas Hurricane Maria has caused the destruction of lives, buildings, roads, bridges, and other infrastructure on our beautiful island, I firmly support the motion set before this Honorable House. It is imperative that we build to withstand the climate now evolving around the world. We are hearing talk about the storms are getting worse. For this reason, we need to build resiliency in two key areas, in our infrastructure and in our natural resources. We live on an island blessed with rivers, valleys, hills, and mountains, which we took for granted. But they do have a voice, and they are making it heard loud and clear. Our rivers escalate into raging torrents, taking life, land, and property down to the sea. Our valleys are widening rapidly, and new ones are being formed. Our hills and mountains are ravaged by landslides and are thus losing their vegetation. We need to take care of them in order to take care of ourselves. We must no longer encroach on the space of our rivers. We must let them pass freely as they were meant to. If possible, we must stop building bridges above them and take a lift from the bypass in Pishley and build a road across them where the bridge would have been. Bridges stop trees and other debris when rivers are high. The river then flows over the bridge or tries to, and when it is unable to do so, it demolishes the bridge in an attempt to pass, resulting in damage costing millions of dollars. You may ask, how will building through the river solve the problem? To answer this, let's look at the national program labeled Room for the River, started in the city of Nijmegen in the Netherlands in 1997. The program came about after the city and its 117 million people almost flooded after heavy rains. The disaster was averted when the river wall subsided, but the authority, having been scared to death, decided to widen that floodplain of that river in order to give future floodwaters more room to flow. In our case, Madam Speaker, when there is no bridge, the debris that the river carries will be easily carried away. In addition, as with Nijmegen, blocked rivers tend to divert into residential areas, leading to panic and loss of life. Preventing this mitigates the cost of any form of road repair. The Bible says that there is rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents. Madam Speaker, we see the great value of even one life in the eyes of God. We ought to appreciate this value by ensuring the safety of all our citizens. We may also have to revisit our village inns, where people can wait out overflowing rivers until the danger is past. All in all, Madam Speaker, people ought to be prevented from building in river valleys. Our planning division must refuse to give planning permission to people who want to build there. If they insist in doing so, the structure should be demolished and alternative locations be provided or suggested. Above all, Madam Speaker, I think legislation should take all of these suggestions. It must first start at the head, so our officials should pass laws to ensure that the rules governing our rivers, valleys, hills, and mountains are implemented and obeyed. I thank you.
Madam Speaker, I, Mervia Joseph, the Minister of Tourism, beaches, nature. Madam Speaker, we are the nature isle of the Caribbean. Take, for instance, after Dominica was struck by a Category 5 hurricane, it took us only 4 months before a tourist cruise ship could anchor on the shores of Dominica. Madam Speaker, what we are trying to say, that if we become climate resilient, it will take us less than 4 months for a tourist cruise ship to come to Dominica. Can you imagine that? Madam Speaker, we will agree that any significant reduction in tourist arrivals in Dominica will bring significant unemployment. Madam Speaker, many of our citizens in Dominica are employed in the tourism sector, whether they are vendors, tour guides. If Dominica does not become climate resilient, Madam Speaker, this will cause poverty in our nation. Madam Speaker, in order to enhance our tourism sector, we need to concentrate on our landscape. Madam Speaker, when tourists come to Dominica, we can no longer offer them grapefruit juice. What are we going to offer them? Fruta? Madam Speaker, we are starting now. In Second Fort, we have already begun yesterday. We need to replant our forest, rebuild trails. For instance, the village that I live in, Watson Waven, many of our hot springs got destroyed. And this was the main tourist attraction in our village. The trails, they got blocked to the sulfur spring, Madam Speaker. The opposition, they better come on board because with them or without them, we are doing this. Madam Speaker, in becoming the first climate resilient...
Madam Speaker, point of order. Excuse me, ma'am, you called for collaboration earlier. I think that you should have an interest in having us on board. You said, yeah. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, can I continue? Madam Speaker, in becoming the first climate resilient country in the Caribbean, Dominica will bounce back and rebuild back stronger and better. Madam Speaker, I am Dominica. Are you? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am Ms. Whitney McLawrence, Minister of Education. I rise to support this motion wholeheartedly to this Honorable House. As the Minister of Education, I believe that becoming climate resilient is a must in Dominica, for we are at high risk of facing natural disasters which are becoming detrimental as time goes by. Climate resilience deals with the vulnerability of one's nation towards climate change and the ability to adapt to such conditions without suffering tremendously. Madam Speaker, one may sometimes overload the nexus which exists between education and establishing climate resilience in our country. In this proceeding, Madam Speaker, I will present to this Honorable House how my ministry will implement the idea of climate resilience in our education system. Being climate resilient does not necessarily mean being prepared infrastructural-wise, but being prepared mentally. To begin, Madam Speaker, the ministry's intention is to promote a greater sense of awareness of climate resilience to the students. Having knowledge about climate resilience will lead to an effective outcome. By practicing drills, the students will be able to have an idea of what to do before, during, and after a disaster. As they say, education is key.
Honorable Member, in accordance with Standing Order 41, subsection 8, members shall not read their speeches.
Madam Speaker, I beg your pardon to read my information. Thank you. To the promising students of our future, when they remember the devastation that Hurricane Maria caused, they will aspire to be engineers, environmentalists, and farmers to help build back an educated, climate-resilient nation. Once established in school, the younger students will be able to transfer what they know to the public. It is the ministry's intention to work in collaboratively with the ministries such as the Ministry of Youth and the Ministry of Community and Gender Affairs to implement radio programs and seminars in each constituency to educate the public on the significance of climate resilience. In closing, Madam Speaker, A climate-resilient Dominica would mean the construction of genuine disaster shelters at strategic locations and in vulnerable communities, thus eliminating the need for the utilization of our educational facilities as shelters and our citizens having to spend sometimes months at these shelters post a disaster, resulting in eventual loss of school hours of our students. Madam Speaker, I want to reach out to my colleague, Minister of National Security, to embark on this aggressive initiative to have genuine shelters built around the country and to improve of the parliamentary colleagues that they support him in this initiative. Thank you.
Right. Madam Speaker, I, Kurt Frederick, Shadow Minister for Agriculture, ask permission to read from my speech. Thank you. Madam Speaker, I rise to make my contribution on this very pertinent and much talked about topic, climate resilience and how it relates to agriculture. Madam Speaker, we on this side of the House fully support and commend the government effort in making Dominica a climate resilient country. Madam Speaker, with your permission, may I ask a few questions and make a few recommendations? No? All right. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I will leave it up to the farmer to farm the same way as they did 20 years ago. Madam Speaker, are the farmers going to be trained? Will the farmers be rewarded for implementation of what was learned? Madam Speaker, climate resilience in agriculture is more than some fancy, colorful words. It means action and sustainable use for natural resource. Madam Speaker, it means having these resources around for many, many years to come, which means ensuring that there will always be adequate food for all people even after a natural disaster. Madam Speaker, every Dominican must be cognizant of the impact of climate change. Will we have an island-wide campaign targeting the farmers on this topic? Madam Speaker, we recommend that climate resilience as it relates to agriculture be integrated in our school curriculum. In that way, not only will our present farmers, but also our young and upcoming farmers be mindful in good climate resilience farming techniques and practices. Will it be ready to have basic knowledge and have skills to continue what was already learned and started? Madam Speaker, are we going to invest in a modern farm, in training and hiring more extension officers? Madam Speaker, there are traditional cultural practices we may look into. Madam Speaker, climate resilience in agriculture does not only belong on the farms. Madam Speaker, can we invest in technology in fishing? What about investing in advanced fishing complexes in sustainable location around the island? For example, Grand Bay and Soufriere. Madam Speaker, our agricultural sector needs to take this rightful place in our economic recovery. We have the resources. We just need the right policies and a willingness to increase our productivity, which will ultimately lead to a better standard of living for all my fellow Dominicans. I thank you.
Senator of Education and Training, Ashanti Allen. I bid you a good afternoon, Madam Speaker, members of this House, and ladies and gentlemen. Madam Speaker, I am asking for permission to read from my script. Thank you. Today I rise before to address a particularly interesting phrase that have been bombarding our airwaves, local talk show, and even here in this House. The issue of climate resilience. Madam Speaker, let me make it clear, Madam Speaker, that climate resiliency on our part is indeed a very noble idea. But, Madam Speaker, I must say that to achieve this ideal of climate resilience, Madam Speaker, we must, and I repeat, we must undertake some serious and urgent education of our people before any attempt is made at climate resilience. Madam Speaker, does the ordinary Dominican really and truly and fully comprehend what climate resilience is? Do they really comprehend the sacrifice that would have to be made to release the goal of being climate resilient? The answer is resounding no. So, Madam Speaker, we stand on the first hold of implementing such a large-scale undertaking that stands to impact each and every Dominican. And we are speaking of nothing in terms of educating our people about this undertaking. And, Madam Speaker, I don't mean playing a few experts on the radio through social media. Madam Speaker, I am speaking about doing the grassroots, educating our young people at the preschool, primary, secondary, and tertiary level of education. Madam Speaker, there must be a continuity and transmission of the knowledge gained. When we educate our young people on climate resiliency, Madam Speaker, then they will in turn educate our children and children's children. I call to mind, Madam Speaker, hurricanes David and Allen in 1979 and 1980, respectively. Madam Speaker, 38 and 37 years later, we had all but forgotten how destructive hurricanes can be. Had we done the job of sufficient educating the young people that time of being resilient?
You have 1 minute left.
I am not saying, Madam Speaker, that there would be no damage. Certainly not. Madam Speaker, we cannot underestimate the value of an education in Dominica of climate resilience, and that is the way to go, first and foremost. Madam Speaker, I am thanking you for the opportunity to present in this most esteemed and honorable house. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, as the Shadow Minister of Tourism and Urban Renewal, I stand in full support of the motion. But, Madam Speaker, there are some critical steps we need to take in becoming the first climate resilient country. Madam Speaker, isn't it more important than being there than becoming first? What's the race, Madam Speaker? I hope this is not a gimmick. Madam Speaker, we are the nature isle of the Caribbean. We offer the world ecotourism product. Our national valleys, our rivers, our forests are what attracts the tourists to this country, Madam Speaker. And what are we going to offer to them if this is damaged, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, tourism is the key of engine in economic growth. Madam Speaker, we have heard after speech and speech by the Prime Minister that they know the effects of climate change on this country. Why after Maria is now they're putting a plan? They had Hurricane David, they have Hurricane Dean, and Hurricane Erica. Why now, after Hurricane Maria, you are setting forth a plan? Madam Speaker, aren't we supposed to be climate-proof? Madam Speaker, if we were climate-proof, 39% of our hotels wouldn't have been severely damaged. And our sulfur spring in Watson Waven wouldn't have been damaged, Madam Speaker. Isn't that so? I certainly agree that would have been protected if we were climate resilient, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the government received $100 million in relation to the Climate Investment Fund. What are they doing with the money? Madam Speaker, I have seen no or little change made, Madam Speaker. We were the first low-carbon country, Madam Speaker. Where is the investment going, Madam Speaker? How come we are still not the low-carbon climate country, Madam Speaker? So, exactly what are the government doing? Because I would like to know, because I'm not seeing any changes made. Madam Speaker, so what are they going to continue to do? Collect all the monies and do not take their responsibility serious, Madam Speaker? I think you guys should take all your responsibility serious.
Excuse me. We are collecting the monies?
Yes, I have proof. I have proof you're collecting the money.
Madam Speaker, Honorable Member, in accordance with Standing Order 44.
Madam Speaker, what she's saying is not true.
Honorable Member, will you please take your seat?
Yes, madam.
Can I continue, Madam Speaker? We are not saying at opposition that we cannot be climate resilient. We are saying we are not ready at this stage to be climate resilient. We need to stop and develop our sectors to be climate resilient, Madam Speaker. And I think the government should stop and do it right now. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Excuse me, member of the opposition. I would like to ask if you have any facts for the government collecting the money.
I do not have the print right now, but I do have the fact that you received the money.
But, Madam Speaker, she stated that she has the facts right here, right now. So I would like her to show me the facts.
Madam Speaker, I did not state it that I have it right now. I did not state that. I said that you guys received $100 million. So you took me by mistake.
Madam Speaker, as the MP for the Superior Constituency, I ask for your permission to read from my script. Madam Speaker, I rise to give my contribution before this honorable House. On the 19th of September, I saw my people in pain, Madam Speaker, real pain. As lives were lost, homes were destroyed. After seeing this, I have spoken to the people of the Superior Constituency about the possibility of relocating those closest to the sea that are most at risk. During the hurricane, high sea level not only destroyed homes, but it has also destroyed many of our roads and fishing facilities. Madam Speaker, this drove home the point that climate change is real and that something has to be done to combat the effects of climate change. Madam Speaker, I am in full support of the thrust towards implementing a climate resilient policy, not only in my constituency, but Dominica on a whole. Madam Speaker, I believe that we need to relocate all the people of my constituency who live along the shorelines. I believe in making Soufriere a better constituency, better be able to withstand the forces of nature as it relates to climate change in the near to distant future. We cannot stop the disaster from visiting our shore, but we can organize ourselves, we can fashion our lives, we can adapt policy that will enable us to better withstand, to rebound and better recover after these disasters have come to our homeland. I have spoken to the Minister of Education to help me with educating my people on better practices that can help us to be more resilient. If my people are educated, we are able to build better homes that can in the near future be able to withstand Category 5 hurricanes. A sea defense wall will provide much protection from the sea, Madam Speaker. These are just some of the possibilities that the Soufriere constituency can explore. Making the Soufriere constituency more resilient to the effect of climate change is just one step in the right direction towards Dominica on a whole more climate resilient. Our efforts and our intentions may just serve as a role model for other nations of region and the rest of the world. Madam Speaker, I believe that this is a right decision for Dominica to become the first climate resilient country in the world. I thank you.
Madam Speaker, I would like to request permission to take reference from my notes.
You have permission.
Madam Speaker, while this motion is one of good essence, my concern is how the government is going about fulfilling this. In reference to the sector of the finance and foreign affairs, I would like to know what exactly is being done with all the revenue that the country is receiving. Madam Speaker, for years on end, the country of Dominica has been receiving money from international donors in order to work towards being a fully climate resilient country. But, Madam Speaker, with a small developing state like us, ever have such money to pursue this lofty ambition? I ask this House, how are we, the developing, going to achieve this if the developed countries who are helping us have not even achieved it themselves? Think of it, Madam Speaker. Who exactly will be paying back all the money spent on this? Will it be the taxpayers, our poor Dominican people? Madam Speaker, yes, I understand we intend to work towards being the first climate resilient country in the world. However, when will we stop intending? We need to start implementing and stop building on intentions. What means of assurance can the government and scientists provide to ensure that $1 billion that international partners have pledged will have a return on investments? Madam Speaker, why spend so much money on something when there is a possibility that it can be destroyed before we even beat our eyes? Or have we forgotten that within the next 3 months, a probably even more catastrophic devastation might hit our country? Madam Speaker, money cannot just be thrown into something, a wish or desire that we hope to achieve. To date, the Ministry of Agriculture has received 18,817,400 EC dollars to give to farmers and fishers. Let me repeat this amount. 18,817,400 EC dollars. How many farmers and fishers have actually gotten this money? Is it just the backyard farmers who plant lettuce and cabbage on their roof, or the actual farmers who help this economy? Madam Speaker, such large sums of money cannot be invested in a climate when it is constantly changing.
We cannot be resilient against something that is unpredictable. We can never be prepared, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would like to ask the Minister of Foreign Affairs and all the other ministers who attend the forums and conferences on climate resiliency what they are doing with the information that they have obtained. Is it that the government themselves lack the knowledge on this subject matter, or do they not know how to pass on information to others? Madam Speaker, I would like someone to help us all in this room understand why are we still building on intention? Something we have been working towards according to this government's low-carbon climate resilient development strategy since 2012. A plan intended, once again, intended to last up to 2022. Madam Speaker, I would like the government to stand up from sitting in hopes and dreams and actually implement all the plans that they wish to achieve. Stop telling the Dominican people that you all intend to do things and actually do them. They, Madam Speaker, need to stop with the pen and paper and for once use their minds and their education and put themselves to work. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, permission to refer to my notes. Madam Speaker, I rise to present my contribution on the motion before this Honorable House. Climate resilience is the value of innovation, learning from others' experiences, and taking future conditions into account, and suggest strategies for dealing with specific natural hazards. This includes adapting, recognizing, and evolving into more desirable configurations that improve the sustainability of the system, leaving it better prepared for future climate change impacts. Nature is unpredictable and we can't stop it. But how is commerce, enterprise, and small business development included? The climate change will have a domino effect on agricultural and production operations. For example, a reduction in the supply of agricultural products and scarcity of water may lead to a reduced food supply and threats to food security, a rapid global increase in commodity prices, social and political unrest, inflation, and finally, economic slowdown. With such a scenario, business will not be as usual. Business will face challenges as never before. Business will face challenges as never before. It is climate change impact not better understood, and no steps are taken towards appropriate solutions. Now is the time for corporate leaders to rethink very carefully their business models, business priorities, and business sustainability, and to consider what change, lower the risk, adapt to the change, and take advantage of the opportunities that are available. If anyone here has done business in school, you would know that starting up a business, if you sell a product and you sell it for a price that makes a loss, you are very foolish. But let's put Dominica as our product selling on the market. Why should we make a loss? Why not make implementations to become climate resilient and make a profit? Acknowledging climate change as an inevitable factor and recognizing the need to adapt involved bold decisions made by business. The core message is to know that adaptation adds cost, but lack of adaptation will cost far more. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Members are reminded to identify yourself before you begin your presentation.
I, Zora Marie Xavier, Minister of Foreign Affairs, stand to make my contribution to the motion presented. Madam Speaker, I request permission to read from my notes. When Category 5 Hurricane Maria hit our precious island, most of us thought we would never see the day after, far less for a new year. We have all heard the emotional stories of our people and have seen the devastation this hurricane has caused. In light of this, Dominica has declared that it will be the first climate-resilient country in the world. Madam Speaker, climate resiliency is no longer an option, but a necessity. It is do or die quite literally, especially as this upcoming hurricane season is projected to be worse than the last. The first question that should be asked when the issue of climate resiliency is proposed in our effort to build back better is, how will we pay for such a grand idea? Many people said we don't have the funds. However, as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I can safely say, with the monetary contributions received from the international community, climate resiliency will be accomplished. Madam Speaker, the United Kingdom has pledged £5 million to Dominica in order to build. Other humanitarian partners launched a flash appeal seeking US $31.1 million for life-saving assistance and early recovery efforts. As of 30th January 2018, contributions amounting to US $19.7 million were made to the appeal. Many other contributions by various governments and NGOs were made and are still being made. The spotlight from the international community is on us. Now is our time to take advantage of these opportunities. Secondly, to accomplish any type of building, one needs human resources. Dominica boasts a population of approximately 70,000. The brilliance of this available human resource can and should be utilized to our bid to build back better and attain climate resiliency. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as the de facto middleman between ministries and foreign entities, is well aware that every year, Dominica invests in providing scholarships that make provisions for our people to obtain higher education. Just to mention a few, per year, Cuba gives approximately 10 scholarships, while Cuba gives 7 to 10. China offers approximately 10 scholarships. What we can do now, as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, is create new relationships with other international entities, especially governments, that will allow more scholarships to be given to our citizens. In light of our current climate resilient-oriented goal, sending our people to study areas related to the environment, demography, engineering, and disaster preparedness will help our country make educated, well-thought-out actions to achieve climate resiliency. Madam Speaker,
have 1 minute left.
Sending these people to study these fields have already proved beneficial. Immediately after Hurricane Maria, the newly returned graduates, whose fields were in disaster preparedness and management, along with applied geosciences, were promptly put to work. Madam Speaker, it is often said that help comes first to those who help themselves. If we show that we are not wasting resources or money, the international community will want to help us further, providing us with more scholarship opportunities for our aspiring youth, from governments like the government of the Kingdom of Morocco, more aid to fix the 80% of buildings lost, and complete necessary infrastructure from organizations like the European Union. In addition, more grants from institutions like the United Nations to complete education programs to educate the general public on environmental conservatism, that is, reducing our negative impact on the environment more efficiently and thoroughly than we do now. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I, Sky George, as Minister of Trade, Energy and Employment, stand to support the motion being presented before this House. The first step in achieving full climate resilience is identifying the need for such an initiative. As a government, we have anticipated that in order to withstand and evolve in the face of an unpredictable yet changing climate, there is no better choice. But first, We must identify the vulnerabilities in each sector of the country, and one such sector is trade, energy, and employment. Then, and only then, are we able to address and minimize these vulnerabilities and be adequately prepared to adapt to future climate change impacts. As Minister of Trade, Energy, and Employment, my ministry and I will collaborate with the Ministry of Housing to ensure that our approach to energy is in line with our goal of climate resilience. Madam Speaker, one proposal to reach this goal is to create a self-sustainable people by providing avenues where citizens can integrate the use of clean energy sources into home construction and renovation. The end result will be green housing. My colleagues, Madam Speaker, firstly, why is the use of alternative energy sources of such importance when attempting to become climate resilient? Well, with the rising awareness of climate change, it has become necessary to reduce our carbon footprints so that the severity of its impacts, such as increased natural disasters, can be lessened. The government plans on encouraging homeowners who are rebuilding to invest in homes which make use of clean energy sources where electricity can be generated from wind, water, solar, or geothermal energy. This will be a self-sustainable venture in that the government will not be directly involved in the harvesting of these power sources, but will provide the incentives for citizens to build their own greenhouses. We will decrease import costs by lowering duties and taxes for homeowners who seek to harvest in hydro or solar power or purchase equipment not manufactured on the island. A factor, Madam Speaker, which sometimes discourages Dominicans from investing in these renewable energy strategies is the bureaucracy or red tape involved. A counteracting measure would be if in the Castle Bruce area, someone is interested in building a mini hydropower plant to fuel their home, we will make it easier and simpler for that person by limiting the tedious procedures and paperwork involved. Lastly, the government would provide technical expertise by deploying adept persons to facilitate homeowners who are not versed in the planning and implementation of this hydropower plant. All these incentives will be a motivating factor for Dominicans to build their own greenhouses, which will be powered even when conventional forms of energy are disrupted due to climate change effects. Secondly, I have already discussed with the Minister of Housing to partner with the international community that manufacture materials that are climate resilient as we rebuild.
Madam
Also,
Speaker, through you, I'd like to make a point of order that while these green energy sources are very beneficial, they are even more susceptible to climate change disasters.
May I continue? As we work, also, we will work with the agricultural sector to obtain crops and seeds which are resistant from the outside territories. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, the implementation of these policies will ensure that the trade, energy, and employment sector is climate-proof and that we are on our way to becoming fully climate resilient. Thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, Shalika Vidal, the Minister for Planning, Economic Development and Investments. Madam Speaker, as the Minister for the relatively new but important Ministry of Planning, Economic Development and Investment, I, the Honorable Shalika Vidal, wish to contribute to the motion before the Honorable House. Madam Speaker, it is not about you. It is not about me. But in a catastrophic situation such as this, it is about we. We, the people of Dominica, are now more than ever at a precarious stage. Madam Speaker, change is a word that is frequently used in Dominica. But it is high time that we take our foot from our mouths and make this change happen. Madam Speaker, no one can prevent the occurrence of a disaster such as Hurricane Maria. However, we can adapt our planning strategies to fall in line with achieving climate resilience. There is a chain of reaction within each ministry. And this ministry is in an agreement to evolve such strategies into making more desirable configurations that will make Dominica more prepared for future impacts of climate change. Madam Speaker, our beautiful land is considered to be a developing country. Climate-related disasters have inflicted increasingly high losses on developing countries. With climate change, these losses are likely to worsen. Improving Dominica's resilience against the climate risks is therefore vital for not only poverty reduction, but an achievement in economic goals as outlined by the government of Dominica. Madam Speaker, ironically, we have an ideal time when foreign agencies have taken an interest in investing We have an ideal time when foreign agencies have taken an interest in supporting Dominica's goal to be the very first, Madam Speaker, and fellow colleagues of this House, the very first climate resilient country in the world.
You have 1 minute left.
I firmly believe that the greatest investment that we can make right now is making Dominica climate resilient. And this is the contribution from the Ministry of Planning, Economic Development and Investment.
Zenia Vital, Shadow Minister of Social Services and Community Development. Madam Speaker, I request permission to read from my notes. Madam Speaker, climate resilience not only entails top research and advanced technology, but social change and individual development are necessary. If we are to be very practical, we must agree that resilience is not a goal but a lifestyle. Climate resilience is a lot like world peace. In theory, it would be ideal, but how realistic is it really? Yet, while lasting world peace has yet to be realized, do we get rid of the justice system? Do we not teach children to be kind and compassionate? Madam Speaker, Hurricane Maria affected not only livelihoods and poverty rates, but has also left an indelible psychosocial mark on Dominica. According to the Post-Disaster Needs Assessment 2017, it is estimated that almost 2,800 people
who were considered vulnerable before the hurricane now fall definitely below the poverty line. Before we can consider resilience on a national scale, we need to achieve household and community resilience. Madam Speaker, when people hear building back, they focus only on the physical building back. However, we need to better build back the lives of the people at the same time, or even before we attempt to build infrastructure back better. Many people are still scarred from Tropical Storm Erica, and 2 years later, Hurricane Maria came and knocked us over again. I know people who witnessed family members drowning during the hurricane. How can we expect these affected individuals to move on and begin rebuilding back like nothing ever happened? We need more than just psychosocial first aid. We need ongoing support. People who are preoccupied with being fearful of the flapping of trampoline in the night do not have the strength to work on behaviors that foster climate resiliency. Secondly, social programs need to be put in place to educate our people on climate change and climate resiliency. We need to realize that the way in which we are used to living is not fit for a climate resilient society. We need to encourage the people to consciously make decisions as to how they impact and make use of the environment. The use of solar energy, landscape terracing, and elevating homes near rivers are techniques and technologies which should become part of our daily lives, not an option forced into our consciousness when disaster strikes and the threat of more looms a mere 3 months away. We should also establish recycling programs in schools and communities. Old habits die hard, Madam Speaker, and this is why we need to begin with the children. If they are taught to be environmentally conscious from young, they will surely carry on these good habits into their adulthood. Methane, a noted greenhouse gas, from our habits of indiscriminate waste disposal.
You have 1 minute left.
Instead of responsible waste separation and conscious composting is a prime example of a bad habit that needs to be reformed. Madam Speaker, this is not even counting our litter problem in various communities and the age-old habit of using our rivers to dump all sorts of things. The bottom line is that the only way for us to live resiliently is to work towards creating a sustainable lifestyle which will eventually result in a climate resilient Dominica. Madam Speaker, is everyone up for the challenge? Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I am Lisa Ernest, a senator, and I wish to present my contribution to this motion before the Honorable House. Permit me to read my contribution, please. According to the Union of Concerned Scientists 2018, open quotes, the damaging impacts of climate change will grow as climate changes and adaptation fails to keep pace, unless societies take steps to increase their resilience through aggressive action on both. End quote. As a young senator, I am very passionate about education, especially among the youth, so I chose to speak on this point. Climate change increases the severity of natural disasters each year. For example, Hurricane David was a Category 4 hurricane, which led to some destruction on the island. However, Hurricane Maria was a Category 5 destructive hurricane and was much worse. Madam Speaker, look around. We can see millions of infrastructural damage to businesses, bridges, homes, just to name a few. Madam Speaker, I want to contribute positively towards sensitizing the youth on the subject of climate resilience. It was Mahatma Gandhi who said, "Education is the most powerful tool we can use to change the world." And to change Dominica to a climate-resilient country, this is the tool we must use. The first step is integrating climate resilience in the curriculum. I challenge our teachers to inform students on what we need to do to be climate resilient and allow them to propose ways that they can help create a climate-resilient country. While students have knowledge of climate change and its effects as these are being taught in the classroom, they are unaware of how climate resilience aids in mitigating the impact of climate change. Being exposed to this topic at their level will mean that they will become familiar with the concept and will grow into adults who will maintain the image of resilience that we, the policymakers, are trying to portray. Thus, if our youth feels that climate resilience in some way benefits them, then they will put into practice the suggestions and proposals we recommend. It was just last month that Dominica News Online quoted our Prime Minister as saying that despite his extensive traveling, he has not encountered anyone who can be considered an expert in the build-out of a climate-resilient nation. To fill this gap, it is my recommendation that we select a group of young environmental enthusiasts and provide them with the opportunity to study resource management, environmental change, sustainability, disaster risk management, climate science and solutions, or any field related to climate resiliency. Upon their return, they will work with policymakers like ourselves to put together a framework regarding how to create a climate resilient Dominica. In the end, we would have put an end to the Prime Minister's search for creating our very own climate resilient experts. It is our job to adequately prepare our youth for when the present administration is ready to hand over their reins. Therefore, they must be informed of the necessity of climate resilience
You have 1 minute left.
so that they do not undo the good that we are working towards now, but will continue to build a climate resilient Dominica. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, my name is Aisha Roy, and as the Attorney General, I will demand the request to read from my speech. Madam Speaker, as Attorney General of this island, I am in full support of the motion presented before this Honorable House. We saw with horror the mayhem of looting that took place after Hurricane Maria. We are now experiencing even more horror with the price hikes that face us at every business place. Some seem to think that the hurricane dropped bags of diamonds on Dominica. Madam Speaker, the legislation of this country falls directly under my portfolio. So I need to do something about these atrocities. As such, my presentation is centralized on 3 main points. 1, legislation or policies concerning consequences for looting. 2, legislation to govern the rate at which prices must rise or fall and the consequences for business owners who fail to obey that legislation. And 3, I will also speak a bit about legislation to govern building and farm locations. Madam Speaker, Hurricane Maria and its effects were debilitating. However, more debilitating than Maria was the occurrence of looting. It was as if people prayed for the hurricane's arrival, and as soon as it happened, they called their crew. A number of stores and service providers were looted. These included Lee Units, Dominica's Social Security, and even the Royal Bank of Canada. After such an occurrence, the sad thing is that insurance policies do not even cover looting. As such, law and policymakers must take it upon themselves to revise, create, and enforce laws to either imprison or fine looters. These prison sentences or fines should be substantial enough to let those affected feel compensated for their loss. In addition, should another hurricane hit us, people will be less likely to loot, thus ensuring that buildings remain intact with no windows, doors, or gates be broken. In reference to my second point, Madam Speaker, legislation should be enacted to control consumer prices. If we are to build climate-resilient homes and infrastructure, yet prices are going through the roof, tell me, how possible is resiliency when our funds have to go towards food and various services? Madam Speaker, as Attorney General, I believe that various responsible parties must enforce or enact laws that prevent businesses from increasing prices as they wish. May I suggest a consumer rate of 1%? When this rate is legislated, those who fail to comply should be fined anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 based on the number of goods whose prices have been raised. Now for my third point, Madam Speaker. What can we do about building or farming locations,
You have 1 minute
especially
left.
on mountains? Twice in the past 3 years, and they have taken a beating. We need to respect these mountains if we are to survive. It should be mandatory that vegetation not be removed from slopes of specific degrees, and that for every tree that is cut down, another be planted in its place. Where the damage has already been done, tree planting exercises should be undertaken. These can be projects for students as well as for every community member and paid workers. Furthermore, regular checks should be conducted to ensure that people adhere to the laws regarding the use of our mountains. All in all, Madam Speaker, I intend to do all in my power as Attorney General to see that the law regarding our efforts at making this country climate resilient are obeyed to the fullest. Thank you for your time, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I am Andel Francis, the Minister of Social Services, and I request permission to refer to my notes. We stand where two roads diverge, and the path that we have long been traveling on has come to an end. Now we must make a choice. We must either choose the road which leads off into destruction or the one that gives us a short success. Which do we choose? Our country, Dominica, is in a fragile state due to Hurricane Maria, which came with winds and rains. And Maria took with it many lives. Maria came and left many jobless, traumatized, and even homeless. Before I delve into this debate, it is imperative that I define the key term, climate resilience. Climate resilience is the ability of a system, community, and country to, 1, adapt, secondly, flourish and anticipate under such circumstances. Our country, Dominica, climate change is real. And as the Ministry of Social Services, we sustain the development to support the most vulnerable segments of society, to reduce inequality in the country, and to have improved access to opportunities. It is important that prior to the hurricane season, citizens are educated on what to do prior, during, and after a hurricane. It is also key that not only we educate them, but also show them that persistence and determination conquers all things. Madam Speaker, not only are we to be physically climate resilient, but it is of extreme importance that we are mentally prepared. According to an online news article dated October 10, 2017, the Return to Happiness program targets children who live through Maria. This program has the aim of helping children to cope with the after effects of Maria. This shows that we are putting counseling as a serious priority. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Social Services also takes into consideration the health and safety of our citizens. I propose that better healthcare facilities and technology be placed at the PMH and other healthcare facilities around the island. Lastly, our unity as a people is key in bringing about a climate-resilient country. Without unity, we are like scattered soldiers on a battlefield, fighting hopelessly, and no progress is assured. But I can assure you that if we take our time, like the hare and the turtle, we saw that the hare had all the talent to win, but he was lacking in two aspects. He was not consistent, neither persistent. So if we become like the turtle, who was consistent and persistent, we can achieve our goal. According to Calvin Coolidge, the 30th US president, nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. The world is full. Unrewarded genius is almost a problem.
You have 1 minute left.
Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I rise to make my contribution on the motion before this honorable House. I am Senator Janaya Kopel. I am Janaya Kopel, Senator of Utilities. Madam Speaker, first climate resilient country. I believe Dominica can become a climate resilient country, but not the first. To begin, it has been 6 whole months, 6, since the passage of Hurricane Maria. And yet still, there are still places in the country without electricity. Madam Speaker, there are still lampposts which are slanting. Madam Speaker, I believe for us to be climate resilient, we need to take out our power lines above ground and put it underground, because this will make it more resilient. And it will also make it easier and faster for us to restore energy to the island after a disaster. Madam Speaker, what happened? What is the government doing to restore our hydropower plant in Padu? It was destroyed by 3 to 4 feet of mud and debris. Here it is, Madam Speaker, here it is. From the Post-Disaster Needs Assessment Report 2017, done by the government. Madam Speaker, we are only hearing about build better infrastructures, redredging of the rivers, but what is happening to our power plants? Madam Speaker, our water supply, it only takes a little drizzle to make Dominic shut down their water supply. Madam Speaker, there are still places in the south, for example, Scots Head, which do not have pipe-borne water. They rely on water from the rain, and not every day the rain, Madam Speaker. So we say we want to be the first climate resilient country. Madam Speaker, our telecommunications, what is the other side doing to recover our signals? There are still domestic landlines which are offline. Madam Speaker, all now, if I try to call my auntie in the east, I will not get her. Because the signal is erratic. Madam Speaker, first climate resilient country. I do not see this coming anytime soon. Madam Speaker, I stand here and I shall say again, Dominica is not ready to become the first climate resilient country, but it can be a climate resilient country. Madam Speaker, based on what I have said today, and based on the unpreparedness of our country, I do not support this motion. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Speaker, I, Makena Victor, Minister of Justice, Immigration, and National Security, seek your permission to refer to my notes. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to make my contribution to the motion presented before this Honorable House. On the 18th of September 2017, Madam Speaker, Dominica was struck by Category 5 Hurricane Maria, which caused widespread devastation throughout the island. Since its passing, ideas of making Dominica climate resilient have arose. Madam Speaker, I support this motion wholeheartedly, for climate resiliency deals with early warning systems, better prepared fire and police services, maintenance of law and order within the country after a disaster, and establishing immigration protocols. Madam Speaker, with the implementation of early warning systems, we will be better able to predict the natural disasters. Thus, preparation of our residents will be more proactive. By investing in modern search, rescue equipment, and trained personnel, Madam Speaker, early warning systems can be made possible. Climate resilience police and fire facilities are ultra important for the security of the state and its citizens. For instance, Madam Speaker, in September of 2017, post-Hurricane Maria, four prisoners escaped the island's jail. Also, the fire stations were impacted in one way or the other by Hurricane Maria.
As a result, the cry of the fire department to be smart and build safe have been heard, Madam Speaker. Therefore, climate resilience police and fire services should be climate resilient. Not only that, Madam Speaker, failure to ensure climate resilience police and fire facilities could hinder the effectiveness of the department, thus putting the security of the state and its citizens at risk. Therefore, it is a must. Madam Speaker, as a government, we took the appropriate measures to keep our citizens safe, such as the implementation of curfew and bringing the regional security to further assist in law and order. I must commend them for doing a tremendous job, Madam Speaker. Post-Maria, Madam Speaker, we had several cases of looting and breaking of the curfew without a permit. In order to maintain law and order in the land, law offenders were taken off the streets and arrested. Madam Speaker, by establishing immigration protocols, the ministry hopes to reduce the issues of illegal entries such as drugs, human trafficking, and ammunition. These measures will further assist in national security. In order to do an effective job, new technology and the training of our law personnel should be invested.
You have 1 minute left.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my beloved country can be rest assured that if these steps are established, such as early warning systems, better prepared fire and police services, maintenance of law and order within the country after a disaster, and establishing immigration protocols, then and only then, Dominica will become the very first climate resilient country in the Caribbean and the world by extension. I thank you.
Madam Speaker, may I read from my notes? Madam Speaker, as the Minister of Health and Environment, I stand to make my contribution to this debate.
Will you please state your name?
Madam Speaker, as the Minister of Health and Environment, Ms. Olani Kopel, I stand to make my contribution to this debate. Whereas Hurricane Maria caused psychological trauma and destruction to building infrastructure, I stand in firm support of the proposal before this Honorable House. Tall is a body speaks of an island that can withstand any dilemma thrown away. It boasts of an island which, after facing howling winds and thunderous rainfall, stood strong. However, in spite of those strengths, many weaknesses were revealed after Hurricane Maria. For that reason, it is our motive to make Dominica a more climate resilient nation. In light of this, I will look at resilience in two ways. 1, psychological resilience, and 2, resilience of building infrastructure. When the roofs flew away and the windows broke, everyone saw. However, what we could not see were the mental scars that Maria left. According to Mayo Clinic, post-traumatic stress disorder is described as a mental health condition that is triggered by a terrifying event. And there is no doubt that Maria was incredibly terrible. Personally, Maria messed with my psyche. To this day, when rain falls, I automatically freeze up, as if waiting for the worst to come. It is because of this terrible trauma that in many schools, debriefings were done. But simple debriefings, Madam Speaker, was not enough. Therefore, I would like to provide some suggestions as to how we, as a people, can become more mentally resilient. The American Psychological Association states that civic groups, faith-based organizations, or local groups can provide social support that may help people reclaim their hope. Therefore, the Ministry of Health, in cooperation with such groups, will provide open forums where individuals can speak about trauma or even daily distresses that may arise. It is also hoped that these avenues of free expression will reduce the rates of drug abuse, suicide, and various forms of mental illnesses on our beautiful island. Another point of concern brought about by Hurricane Maria is the loss of jobs. However, we have read on the Dominica News Online of the government's plan to provide 1,200 jobs available by March 1st, so we are on the right track. However, we know that some people may be stuck in the past as to the jobs they enjoy doing. For instance, if I were a farmer and Maria took my land away, I may not be so overjoyed, about exploiting new job opportunities unless it involves my passion, which is farming. However, by providing workshops that may teach a number of new as well as old skills, the farmer may realize that he possesses other skills. In that way, his mind shifts from what he has lost and begins to unlock all that he can gain from his self-discovery. Now, on to my second point. If you do not own a tarpaulin or some potty on your gardenage, you are out of style. Everywhere we turn, people are fixing their roofs. But if we are simply fixing our roofs, what purpose will that serve? Therefore, our building infrastructure must also be made resilient. But the question is how? In an effort to make stronger buildings, we must take a page from the St. Vincent and the Grenadines post-Hurricane Thomas recovery plan. Citizens of that country were provided with new standard codes to help them build homes in such a way that energy from the wind could be dispersed. However, Madam Speaker, our resilience should not only be against hurricanes, but we must also prepare for tsunamis and earthquakes. Though all of this is seemingly costly, the long-term benefits are what we must draw our attention to. All in all, Madam Speaker, in order to be fully resilient, we must strengthen our minds and buildings. In doing so, we have to work on our weaknesses and build a taller, stronger Dominica. I thank you.
Madam Speaker, permit me, Judge Jacques, to stand here today to make my contribution to this honorable House. I also ask permission to refer to my notes. Madam Speaker, as the Minister for Housing, Lands, and Water Resource Management, this debate is one which is truly dear to my heart. Madam Speaker, we have realized that, I am sure that all of us can admit that Dominica is currently in a very fragile state, Madam Speaker. Within a few short months, the hurricane season will be upon us yet again. Madam Speaker, something must be done if we do not want a reoccurrence of the lethal effects of the recent catastrophe which wreaked havoc upon our precious island. Madam Speaker, climate resilience is not an option for Dominica. It must be done, and is why I am fully in support of the motion presented by our Honorable Prime Minister to make Dominica the first climate resilient nation. Madam Speaker, after looking at the crux of the matter, it was realized that the main factor contributing to over 80% of the damage to houses in Dominica was in fact due to poor roof construction. Many houses and other crucial infrastructure were not constructed to withstand the impacts of such catastrophic hazards. Many people use substandard building materials, did not use adequate screws and nails on their roofings, and did not practice proper methods when putting their roofs in place. Many people made this gamble, Madam Speaker, all in an effort to save time and money. However, the price to pay is high, much too high, Madam Speaker. As a result of this, Madam Speaker, my ministry has mandated what needs to be done to prepare us to become climate resilient. It is imperative that the citizens of Dominica understand that we need to make our homes able to withstand the harsh changes in our weather patterns. If we follow the appropriate building codes during the construction phases, Madam Speaker, this will ensure that our homes are stronger and better able to withstand the fierce winds which may come. Madam Speaker, another very serious matter which I must stress upon is the construction of houses in areas prone to landslides and flooding. Too many times, Madam Speaker, people are found building their homes on the riverbanks and on steep slopes. My ministry will work closely with the Ministry of Planning, Economic Development, and Investment to ensure that this malpractice will cease immediately. By building houses in such vulnerable areas, what do we really expect, Madam Speaker? This is just puts us at the mercy of the forces of nature. We need to practice sustainable land use and stop putting ourselves in harm's way.
You have 1 minute left.
Using methods such as terracing will help in preventing landslides. Building retaining walls at the riverbanks will also help to prevent the rivers from overflowing the banks. However helpful these may be, it does not ensure complete protection, and therefore citizens should refrain from building in these areas. We have been working assiduously on the relocation of villages such as Korliho, Kulibistri, Petit Zavan, and Campbell, since we realized that there is no more scope for development, as it is no longer possible for people to live in these areas without putting their safety at risk. In closing, Madam Speaker, let me reiterate that we do not have any other choice but to pursue the vision and mission of our Honorable Prime Minister. With the frequency and intensity of hurricanes only likely to increase, we in Dominica must build back better and develop infrastructure which has a greater, stronger chance of surviving future storms and disasters. Climate change is real, and we have to take all of the necessary human actions to first mitigate against it.
Up.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker.
Good afternoon to you, Madam Speaker. I, Narisha Nixon, the Minister of the Health and Environment, rise to make my contribution to the motion before this Honorable House. Madam Speaker, please permit me permission to read from my speech.
You may.
All right. The issue of making Dominica a climate-resilient nation is of paramount importance to our survival as a people. Therefore, we need to treat these deliberations with urgency. Climate change has impacted everyone to some degree. We in Dominica have borne witness to the stark reality in the effects of Hurricane Maria on our beautiful island. Madam Speaker, before I get into my substantive presentation, please permit me to define some key terms. Firstly, climate change is a significant change in the weather patterns which have become increasingly unfamiliar and unpredictable. Secondly, resilience is being capable of withstanding shock without permanent deformation or disruption. That is, to increase our ability to withstand permanent damage due to climate. Madam Speaker, the most important issue faced by our generation as a people is that of figuring out how to make our country climate resilient. I would therefore like to present to this Honorable House some strategies which can be utilized to make Dominica more resilient to the effects of climate change. Madam Speaker, as we delve into the area of healthcare, it will be remiss of me not to mention the likelihood of a rise in diseases due to climate change. This phenomenon would adversely impact our people, especially our fisher folks, since they will be faced with, and I quote, an increase in heat stress and water and vector-borne diseases, along with harmful chemical usage to kill off organisms that pose a threat to disease and infection. This is according to the Intergovernmental Panel in Climate Change 2007, IPCC. Our health centers are very vital, especially during periods of a disaster. Therefore, critical attention needs to be given to ensuring that they are able to withstand not only Category 5 hurricanes, but major earthquakes. Furthermore, Madam Speaker, all new health facilities, such as a new national hospital, need to be redesigned as to be climate resilient. We can have consultations with the relevant and experts in design and architecture in order to achieve this. It is high time that we safeguard our people, our most natural resource. With this presentation, Madam Speaker, I fully support the motion before this Honorable House. I thank you.
Madam Speaker, I am Delbert Defoe, Honorable Member for the Rosenhof constituency. Please permit me to read my notes.
You have permission.
Madam Speaker, many of us can recall that 1 to 2 weeks after Hurricane Maria, communities were completely cut off from each other, and many individuals had to walk for miles just to find out if their families were alive. Why then should we blindly opt for climate resilience if our most essential and basic form of mobility is dysfunctional after a hurricane? For this cause, I rise to verbalize the silent cries of the infrastructural and housing sectors. Infrastructural damage is the most evident and observable effects of a hurricane. Because of our mountainous terrain, over 98% of our houses are situated beneath cliffs, near or over rivers and underground streams, and alongside the Caribbean Sea and Atlantic Ocean. Despite knowing this evident fact, the government is yet to take a step in reducing the damage done to our roads during a natural disaster. There is only one highway where the mountain is terraced and only one bridge shaped to withstand rising waters. This brings me to my next point. Most of the structures that are built for us by international friends are inferior. After the passage of Tropical Storm Erica, almost every friendship bridge had fallen or had been damaged extensively. They just sat in a river connecting air and water to air and water. Majority of the petrol casters donated to us now lay on the ground like unused toilet paper. Our roads are barely 10 inches thick, yet we aim for climate resilience. I say we cannot be climate resilient if we continue to settle for inferiority and mediocrity at the pitiful hands of our diplomatic aid donors. Not to mention the lack of the adequate human resource and machinery needed in order to construct resilient structures. This again flows into my third point. The houses and roads that we build are impractical to climate resilience. Not even the very hurricane shelters situated in communities could provide proper shelter for those in need of it during Hurricane Maria. We are unsure of our safety. People were astonished to wake up on the mornings of August 28th and September 19th, realizing that they had been living in a riverbed their entire lives. Housing placement is not properly planned. There is no research available to know the paths a river will take or reclaim in the event of a rise in water levels or the probability of land slippage in the case of adequate rainfall. It makes no sense to tell a man who has been living in a community his entire life that his community is no longer safe to live in and then proceed to relocate him into a plastic house. Madam Speaker, how many houses can the Ministry of Housing and Land say that they have approved with at least a wind-resistant heat roof after a hurricane? Whilst energy, health, finance, and all the others are important, our country is basically paralyzed without its infrastructures. And Madam Speaker, as my time winds down, I leave with these two statements. We can build all the 100% foolproof climate-resilient houses, but if they are inaccessible, they are of no use. And we need to change our approach towards climate resilience, or in local terms, lock back and come back, in order to actually start preparing our island if we want to become climate resilient. I thank you.
Madam Speaker, I, Adele Dura, the Leader of the Opposition, request permission to read from my speech.
You have permission.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I rise to give a valuable contribution to the proposal before this Honourable House. Be it resolved that the best way forward is for the government to take all the necessary steps to make Dominica the first climate-resilient country in the Caribbean and the world. Madam Speaker, the term resilience is the ability to recover quickly from adversity or difficulties. It is the capacity to be flexible in the face of insurmountable odds. A climate-resilient country, therefore, alludes to a nation that is capable of recovering from or after being ravaged by the destructive forces of climate change. Considering the Post-Disaster Needs Assessment Report, the PDNA 2017 report by the Government of Dominica, which indicated that there was an estimated $2.5 billion worth of damages that our developing nation received following the catastrophic event of Hurricane Maria, we fully understand that we must become a climate-resilient nation. However, as you have heard, we, the members of the opposition, are convinced and concerned that the government's approach is flawed. Madam Speaker, the climate-resilient challenge is not a novel idea. As highlighted by Ms. Mello, the low-carbon climate-resilient development strategy, the first of its kind in the Caribbean, outlined a plan that should have been in the beginning stages of implementation since 2012. Had it been, Madam Speaker, we would not have been blindsided by Tropical Storm Erica in 2015 and Hurricane Maria in 2017. 6 years have gone by, Madam Speaker, And this climate resilient strategy has yet to bear any fruit, even after garnering funds from the international community. And right now, Madam Speaker, we have the government, or the Prime Minister, the Honourable Prime Minister, professing her unprecedented will to make us the world's first climate resilient country. Madam Speaker, is it that the government lacks the necessary knowledge to move this plan forward? Please, Madam Speaker, as my colleagues have already discussed climate resilience in relation to various sectors, allow me to now focus on 4 other areas that characterize a climate-resilient Dominica. Madam Speaker, national security involves safeguarding citizens, the economy, and institutions, and our government is obligated to do just that. But can we genuinely say that this was evident during Hurricane Maria? No, Madam Speaker. Clearly, our national security services could have done a much better job in securing the city at least. Rampant looting by our own nationals proved an issue that resulted in the importation of police officers from other countries. Essential services and food supplies that should have been secured in case of widespread starvation if relief supplies were unable to get into the country. Let's not forget about the need for mandatory evacuation, whereby persons who live in vulnerable parts of a community will be forced or ordered to leave their homes, thus preventing the tragic loss of lives, as was seen during Erica and Maria. Madam Speaker, we need to put the following security measures in place before, during, and after a storm. Evacuation plans per community, the construction of actual, resilient hurricane shelters, ensure buildings are constructed in adherence to the national building codes, the distribution of relief items per community, and preparation of possible mobile clinics in the event of medical emergency. Secondly, Madam Speaker, communication after a storm is critical. Even the blind could see that our communication lines or telecommunication lines have made a mangled mess all over the island. Had a strategic plan been in place, or an improvement in the technology we utilize been developed, the main stations would have been relaying vital information to the public, as well as communicate to concerned family members after the passage of hurricanes. Madam Speaker, many people did not realize the intensity of the storm, so there needs to be better coordination and better coordination between Met services and media houses to ensure information is conveyed to the populace. Persons from neighboring islands were aware of the impending danger, the inevitable destruction, whilst we were like sitting ducks during the passage of Maria. Honourable members of this Honourable House, climate change is a real issue which poses many implications for Dominica in regards to our water supply. Madam Speaker, water is one of our most valuable resources, and we are faced with an issue of storage and distribution of potable water. The most obvious threat to our water supply is that of the rise in sea levels. This would adversely affect the availability of fresh water, since salt water would seep into our freshwater aquifers. Also, according to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change 2007, projections indicate a reduction in precipitation across most of the Caribbean throughout the year, with the largest reductions occurring in the summer. This means the prevalence of widespread drought. Madam Speaker, we can't afford to sit idly by whilst our rivers, streams, gorges, and springs are annihilated. Serious effort must be put forth to utilize new technology in designing water systems and better storage tanks in the event of water storage or water contamination. In addition, temporary water systems must be made available to ensure the availability of potable water to citizens. Madam Speaker, it is undeniable that Tropical Storm Erica wreaked havoc on our air and seaports. Our already fragile Douglas Charles Airport was submerged in water and paved with large amounts of debris from the mountains. Isn't this a sign of our dire need for a resilient international airport? In case it is badly damaged, how are we going to get aid into the country? But what would a climate-resilient airport entail? It needs to be moved from its present location in the riverbed. We need a fortified structure which allows for easier accessibility. As it relates to our seaports, we need to upgrade and enlarge the port in Focalay to handle the capacity of relief containers. Madam Speaker, Rome was not built in a day, but this discussion needs to be moved from national consultation to action. Enough of the hype. It is time to work. It is time to work on putting measures in place for national security. It is time to work on improving communication before and after national disasters. It is time to improve on our air and seaports and make them more accessible after disasters.
Your time is up.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, may I request your permission to use my papers, please? I am the Minister of Agriculture, Nikima Alfred. The ravages of Hurricane Maria seem to have left us broken and undecided on how to move on. But to us, the Ministry of Agriculture, Hurricane Maria came to purge and cleanse our system by revealing to us the flaws and weaknesses in our agricultural system, and to offer us the opportunity not just to restore the system back, but to build back better and climate resilient. Is it not the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister? And yes, Madam Speaker, as Minister of Agriculture, I stand in agreement with this motion and intend to transform it from a vision using practical steps to make it a successful reality. Madam Speaker, the key terms such as sustainability, conservation, and preservation must form part of our everyday actions in agriculture. It is from this perspective that as Minister of Agriculture, I propose the following practical steps to building back better. Madam Speaker, firstly, agriculture in Dominica must be cleansed from being a dirty job for the uneducated and transformed to a career with the same potential as that of a doctor. We have many examples of individuals who have farmed all their lives and are successful. In order to achieve this, changes must be made in the educational system. 1. Introduce agriculture at the primary schools, focusing on an appreciation of our local produce and knowing what they are. 2. At the secondary level, initiate agriculture as a compulsory subject up to the point where students make subject choices.
Madam Speaker, as a point of order, I'd like it to be known that in certain schools, agriculture is compulsory up to the choices.
I may proceed. Madam Speaker, secondly, there is need to make use of the science of agriculture to improve crop yield and productivity. This will be evident particularly in areas of soil testing to determine when and how to plant. It should not be business as usual where we accept trial and error. The results of research and pilot projects will determine where areas of the country are best suited to particular crops by virtue of their resistance to different climatic conditions. Root crops were the main foods available after the ravages of Hurricane Maria, and we should invest in developing that sector. Madam Speaker, we are living in an age of technological advancement. Hence, new technologies that are safe for the environment and will enhance the system to make it more effective will be introduced in farming and fisheries. Additionally, the government will make land available that is geared towards agricultural use. Use of techniques as terracing and creating entours for sloping land will prevent soil erosion and vulnerability to adverse weather systems. Madam Speaker, we must think of diversification. I commend the farmers who have gone into poultry and white potato production, but more can be done if we think strongly on reducing imports for items which can be produced here at sustainable levels. In addition, we must find alternatives and create ways to use them. Madam Speaker, our country is blessed with an abundance of fresh fish. There are many market opportunities to utilize our fish. Why not delve into selling pre-packaged fish fingers and other fish delights? This will contribute to our resilience by having foods available for use even after loss of fresh products for climate disasters. My government will use the funds we have received from the international donors to create such opportunities for our farmers and fishermen. Also, Madam Speaker, more markets should be available along with improvements to access road and bridges, and an efficient transportation system for the transport and storage of fresh food, for example, refrigerated boats. Madam Speaker, this is making the...
Your time is up.
Permission to use notes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand to support the motion before this Honorable House. On September 18th to 19th, 2017, Hurricane Maria devastated over 80% of Dominica's buildings and infrastructure and killed 31 people. Madam Speaker, if we were to move on and simply rebuild the way we were before Hurricane Maria, it would be highly irresponsible and short-sighted. We need new building codes, short and long-term plans. We need to educate the public, and we need to enforce these new standards. This is what we mean when we say we need to build a climate-resilient country. Madam Speaker, I will start with the basics. You cannot build a safe infrastructure in disaster-prone land. Residential homes and businesses should never have been built close to rivers and ravines so that flooding could wash away entire families. New standards need to eliminate land that is in danger of flooding from rivers and ravines, and prone areas to landslides from the list of what is considered acceptable residential land. The restructuring of our building codes would ensure better structures and would eliminate, or at the very least, reduce damage in the event of a natural disaster. This would mean including features that would make buildings more hurricane and earthquake resilient. Therefore, we are proposing a special government inspection team to ensure that buildings continue to meet the standards year after year and to provide citizens and businesses with the assistance they need to meet these standards. Our neighbors on the international scene have already begun to implement these plans. We also need to begin to implement these plans, not only for the protection for our citizens, but to meet the standards of the international scene. Meeting these standards may be costly now, but cost-efficient in the long run. We cannot be penny-wise and pound-foolish. The opposition will have us believe that we cannot afford to make this investment now. But, Madam Speaker, every year natural disasters are worsening. So would it be more efficient to build a climate-resilient country now, or to rebuild...
You have 1 minute left.
Or to rebuild our country after every natural disaster? Now is the best time to begin building a climate-resilient country. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, we need to develop and implement plans for a climate-resilient country for the protection of our people and the continuity of our economy. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, and my fellow Dominicans, we have not and certainly will not change our minds about being climate resilient. It has been resolved by me, the Prime Minister, and other ministers of government that the best way forward is for us and the people to take all the necessary steps to make Dominica become the first climate change resilient country, not just in the Caribbean, but in the world. Climate change resilience is our only choice we have right now. We as a government refuse to foster our focus on our past. We refuse to accept the fact of the opposition that the climate change goal is impossible or unrealistic. Madam Speaker, can I have permission to read from my notes, please? Thank you. We have been and will continue to train and support our farmers and fishermen. And to the opposition member, we did have food after the hurricane because 1 week after the storm, our Haitian farmers were the only Chinamen in town. My brothers and sisters, this is our time. This is our time to stand up as a strong and resilient people that we are and make a change for present and future generations. Madam Speaker, are we in a position to provide affordable, scalable solutions to enable our country to leapfrog its way to more sustainable economy by becoming climate change resilient? Well, of course. Do we have the potential and power to influence our sister islands and the world by extension to jump on board the climate resilient bandwagon? Well, definitely. Madam Speaker, we might not succeed the first, second, third, or millionth time, but we must always keep moving forward and never give up. Climate change is real, and in order for us to change that change, we always want it to change. The change must start with you, with me, with us. Madam Speaker, this is the moment where I say power to the people.
This concludes the debate on the motion. I will now put the question. Be it resolved that the best way forward is for government to take all necessary steps to make Dominica become the first climate resilient country in the Caribbean and the world. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move for a division.
Madam Speaker, I beg to second this motion.
The Honorable Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Lakia Joseph.
Yes.
The Honorable Attorney General, Aisha Roye, yes or no? The Honorable Minister for Housing, Lands and Water Resource Management, Jared Jajan.
Yes.
Sky George. McCann.
Yes.
Indeed, yes.
Whitney McLawrence.
Yes.
The Honorable Minister for Health and Environment, Olani Kopel.
Yes, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister for Youth, Sports, Culture and Constituency Empowerment, Sidney John.
I will speak on his behalf, yes.
Can you repeat that, please? Can you repeat, please?
And I repeat, I will speak on his behalf, yes.
You may not speak on his behalf. Deputy Speaker, Senator, the Honorable Christy Yogis.
Yes.
The Honorable Minister for Information, Science, Telecommunications and Technology, Jaquan Lecoin.
Yes.
The Honorable Minister for Agriculture and Fisheries, Nikina Alfred.
Yes.
The Honorable Minister for Kalinago Affairs, Nia Bell.
Yes.
The Honorable Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Health and Environment, Guduna Daisy.
Yes.
The Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs and CARICOM Affairs, Zora Marie Xavier. The Honorable Minister for Tourism and Urban Renewal, Muvia Joseph.
Yes.
The Honorable Minister for Public Works and Ports, Métis Regis. The Honorable Minister for Commerce, Enterprise and Small Business Development, Jemon Ole.
Yes.
The Honorable Minister for Social Services, Family and Gender Affairs, Andel Francis.
Yes.
The Honorable Member for the Soufriere Constituency, Isha Baptist.
Yes.
Senator, the Honorable Lisa Ernest.
Yes.
The Honorable Member for the Marigot Constituency and Leader of the Opposition, Adele Durand.
No.
The Honorable Member for the Salisbury Constituency, Ziniel Vital.
No.
The Honorable Member for the Wesley Constituency, Jamasha Mello.
No.
The Honorable Member for the Roseau North Constituency, Delbert Defoe.
No.
The Honorable Member for the Roseau South Constituency, Nadisha Nixon.
No.
The Honorable Member for the Roseau Central Constituency, Patricia Telemac.
No.
Telemac. Sorry. Senator, the Honorable Jania Kopel.
No.
Senator, the Honorable Khalil Richards.
No.
Senator, the Honorable Kurt Frederick.
No.
Senator, the Honorable Ashanti Aline.
No.
3, 6, 9, 10. 10 noes.
Right there, the person absented, so you say one absent.
Yes. 10 noes. 3, 6, 9, 12, 16,
The motion has been approved.
No, she has to say the numbers. She has to say the numbers.
Number of yeses, 20. Number of noes, 10. Number of abstentions, 1.
So she has to finish now. She has to stand up adjournment. Still say that.
Adjournment.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House be adjourned. Sine die.
Madam Speaker, I beg to second this motion.
It has been moved and seconded that the House be adjourned sine die. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. The House stands adjourned sine die.
Madam Speaker!
Okay? Right. Members of Parliament, distinguished guests, the Leader of the Opposition and other members of the opposition, and trainers and all the persons who have come in the upper gallery, the young persons. We've come to the end of this Youth Parliament meeting, and it's really been a great pleasure for me having these young people, training them and letting them do their thing. And I don't know if you would agree with me, but I think that many of them have presented some very inspiring contributions, and they have made certain observations that probably escaped us adults. So I guess we can say that the young people have given the real parliamentarians food for thought. Now, while we are going to do this closing ceremony, we are going to ask the judges whether they wish to remain here or wish to retire so that they can deliberate and come to their decision while we carry on with the closing ceremony. I don't know whether the judges wish any time, in which case I would ask the clerk to escort them to the office inside. And do you wish to stay here? Will you all be very long, do you know? Pardon? You just started. So would you like to go to the office, to retire to the office, where you all can... Well, yes, so that they can deliberate at the point. They can retire, Mr. James. And while the judges are deliberating, I'm going to ask the Honorable Lennox Linton, Leader of the Opposition, to share some remarks with us at this time.
Madam Speaker, thank you. Students of the Youth Parliament, nice. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The reason I say this was wonderful is because this is the first meeting of the Parliament for the year. And what that means is that the season of Parliament for 2018 has opened up with the innocence, the vibrance of the youth of Dominica. And I want to commend you for the quality of the research that has gone into your presentations this afternoon. I heard somebody saying, was it, Madam Speaker, that we could learn a thing or two? Well, one thing I think we can learn, especially this side of the House, and the adult side, is the value of research. This subject is very important to Dominica at this time, and I sat there being very pleased with what I heard all around, because it came to me that everybody put some effort into this. Everybody made sure they read. and everybody worked well with their teams and their teachers, their coaches, and realizing that this is the highest decision-making body in the country, this is no laughing matter. When we come here, we come for serious business. And you did come here for very serious business. You have set a very good tone for debates in the Parliament this year. And I think we'll be well placed, if and when we get the next opportunity to speak in Parliament, that we can be as graceful under pressure, as dignified as you were this afternoon, and we can take it forward. But I personally would like to see more meetings of the Youth Parliament. I've spoken enough about meetings of the other Parliament. But this Youth Parliament, I think it's a very important instrument of engagement, of debate of national issues that can help us, help the young people to be more involved in what we're doing, and help the young people's voice to be more clearly heard in matters of national development. So I want you to give yourself a big round of applause for what you did this afternoon. The Youth Parliament is an initiative of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, and the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association a few weeks ago held the 9th Commonwealth Parliamentary, the Youth Parliament, the Commonwealth Youth Parliament was held in the country of Jersey a few weeks ago. I hope that going forward, members of the Youth Parliament of Dominica will get a chance to be with their colleagues in international fora like that on a regular basis. Because I think what I heard here today suggests that we're on par and competitive at this level with the youth parliamentarians around the world, and it'll be good to see the engagement and to see it happen. I want to thank the Speaker of the House and her staff for putting this together and for guiding it through. I want to thank the teachers and all the coaches, the trainers who came and worked with the members of the Youth Parliament to ensure today's success. And while I want to thank you all, I particularly want to thank Madam Speaker. She's not here, but I was privileged to have been with you yesterday morning when you voted for a speaker. And as I recall, she presented herself to you as somebody who was going to be fair and somebody who would let everybody have their say. And you voted for her overwhelmingly. And I think she delivered this afternoon, so you should give her a round of applause. And Madam Prime Minister, you're on course now to become the youngest Prime Minister in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Because if you're 19 now, and within 1 year you hope to get into it, yeah, that puts you on course to become the youngest ever Prime Minister in Dominica. Madam Leader of the Opposition, we sit here because we can't sit over there. But we would like to be sitting there. So that's what we talk about. But that's the system, the parliamentary democracy. We face the people at elections. They give majority support to one party. That party sits in government. The other party with less support sits in the opposition. But the role of opposition was effectively carried out here this afternoon because I think everybody had an interest in keeping the government on its toes. And I felt some government ministers on their toes this afternoon, which is good, which is all good and healthy for democracy. So I thank you all. I thank the members of the public who came. I want to thank the Prime Minister and the members of his team who took time from their cabinet meeting to come here for a little while. And I want to thank the members of the opposition who have been with us for the entire afternoon, patiently listening and watching and taking their notes. All right? So thank you very much. You have a lot to be proud of and a lot to be happy about the work we did together this afternoon. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Linton, Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Linton, Leader of the Opposition. Yes, we have had the privilege of sending persons to the Commonwealth Youth Parliament. And I don't know if Ms. Jeffrey is around. She's here, and she went. She was a speaker, and she was privileged to go to the Youth Parliament some years ago. 2012 in London. So the thing is, as the Leader of the Opposition recognizes, it's a lot of work. It's a lot to have to do. And I really agree that we should have it at least once a year, not necessarily at Commonwealth Day time, but some other time we should aim to have a youth parliament once a year. Pardon? And there we have a seconder. So we all agree that it should be held more often. And one year we were actually going to have a second youth parliament, and we had to change course because of finance, for one thing. We have to be going to the corporate community for assistance. I don't know how many of you were able to get one of the programs, but at the back of it we have our sponsors. And pardon? Exactly. And so I would like to say that we went to more, but constraints of the various entities prevented them from offering or being able to help. But we are very grateful to those who helped, and they did really make it possible for this youth parliament to take place. What perhaps we can do is to regularly ask government to set aside some funds to assist us in having more youth parliaments more often. Having said that, though, I think the young people need to tell us what they thought of today's event. And I want to ask 3 persons on each side to tell us what they thought of it, and also to critique it, because as I've always said, things can always get better. We should always aim to get better. So, and I'm not a person who shies away from criticism. So please feel free to be frank. On the Leader of the Opposition is going to select the 2 other persons who will speak with her. And I think to balance it out, I think I'm going to ask 4, just, because there are more of them there. And I'm going to ask the Prime Minister to select 3 to speak with her. And I'm going to ask them to come up one at a time to tell us what they thought of this youth parliament and what they think can be done to make it even better. I'm going to start with the Honorable Prime Minister. She will come up and call her 4 to speak. Yes. Well, you can remain at your seat, actually. You can stay there. No, you speak, and then you'll call out who you wish to speak, and then we'll have it on the opposition side as well. The audience, while the judges are deliberating, are they ready? They're deliberating, so while they deliberate, we can have this exercise. Please.
So good afternoon once again, everyone. My name is Lakia Joseph, and I was here roughly 4 years ago, in 2014. I was in fourth form high school, and I did not have the nerves to stand up and give a presentation as I did today. I was the Minister of Tourism at the time, and with all the coaching that I got, I still didn't have the guts. Well, I did it, but I think the coaches, they're always very helpful to every single person, even if they don't come to you personally and say, this is what you have to do, or let me help you with your speech. They ensure that everybody understands, everybody have the confidence that they need, the staff is well organized, Yesterday, we ate like 2 weeks worth of junk, and some people say next 2 weeks for them again because we were well fed, not spiritually, sorry, mentally and physically. So I want to thank the government, the opposition members, youth parliamentarians, our supporters everywhere, our parents, those listening to us, those watching us who have light and who have cable at their homes. We want to thank you for always believing in us, the young people, because we need the motivation from you that we don't have in ourselves. And to our teachers, thank you very much for always believing in us. And I wish that youth parliament, I second the motion, that youth parliament be held every year so that students of every level can get the opportunity that we had here today. And to Madam Speaker, thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank Madam Speaker for the opportunity of being here today. Being honest, I'm a very competitive person, and we say don't ask for when it have election time. It's me you see in a rally. But it was a really nice experience being here today and sharing with you all. It's a lot of work, but it was a nice experience. I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. Yeah. Have a nice afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Generally, I think this program was very gave us a lot of information and enabled those of us that are camera shy or afraid to speak in front of a large number of people to give us that courage to do it. I trust that this program will continue every year and that youth will participate in Youth Parliament because it's a lot of fun, and I want to thank everyone who turned out and believed in us and helped us through this process. It was an awesome program, and I will not mind doing it again. Thank you.
This is a very great opportunity. Let me tell you, the person that come up with that is a genius. Like, I'm just going to say straightforward. Giving us youth to take part in politics, not only politics, but to share our ideas, and having people in politics supporting us, like Mr. Lennox Clinton and Mr. Skerritt, who is absent at the moment. He went to Honorable, Dr. Skerritt. This was a great opportunity, not only for me, but for my fellow colleagues. I know that every one of you here was nervous, just like me. Like at a certain point, like when they called me to stand up, I didn't even want to stand up. Like I was just going to come up on the mic and say, sorry, I cannot do it. Like to be honest, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for you all. I hope that in the future that I see you all again for debating. I'm looking forward to see, especially those people in the opposition. Looking forward. Yes, ma'am. I was also looking forward to rebuttal because rebuttal is my thing. I hate to be wrong. I hate for people to see that I am weak and I do not want. But you see, when certain people over there were speaking, I was so tempted to stand up and say something. It's like, I'm not gonna lie. She said something and I was already, yes.
I second that. I was tempted to stand up too.
I was ready with a serious thing. I was like, yeah, come on, I'm ready. But besides that, it was a very fun opportunity, and I hope that we can get to experience it again.
Good day to everyone again. I am Adele Giro. In all honesty, I only came here for school spirit points. This is not my scene. This is not my scene, but The exposure and the experience and meeting each and every one of you, it was truly great. I thank everyone for making this a possibility. Thank all the sponsors, Madam Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition who gave us 2 afternoons of his time. Thank you very much. But in a way of critiquing it, the timeline. I was put under a bit of pressure, especially as it came to formulating my speech from yesterday to today, and I only had a couple hours. I needed rest, really. Also, I think that we need a bit more. What is it? I think that we need a bit more help, especially the opposition. We need more individuals come up and speak to us, give us advice. Really, yeah. But that is it. It is a truly great experience. It was a truly great experience, and I thank you all, really. The other individuals that will have to say something, they know themselves, so, yeah.
Well, in general, it was a nice program, nice exposure. We really got the experience. We even felt more like the opposition because of we had less help than the government. So we really learned how it is to be the opposition. Like they say, the time frame not too convenient. I mean, learning what we have to present on the afternoon before the day of the debate is not too convenient. Then given 4 minutes to present it. So, yeah, time frame. But I think it's, yeah, but I think otherwise we're treated well. The program is a nice initiative, and I think that we should be doing it more often and probably give the youth actual responsibility in the development of Dominica to help the parliament.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Hydropower. This experience was very good, exciting. Although I'm still nervous, but yeah. When it's my turn to speak, man, shaking, sweat, practicing in school, cold sweat hitting me, but it felt good. Make new friends. Can't wait for next time. I think the people who provide snacks for us, they need a round of applause because they make sure that we were well fed and good. Thank you.
It's always good to hear what the young people have to say and how they react to this youth parliament. I'm taking you on the timeline problem. Thing about it is we used to do it in one day. Train in the morning, in the evening. Then the Prime Minister says, look, that's a bit onerous. Why don't you split it to 2 days? The thing about it is, as I say, is the cost. Not only do we feed you all, and I'm glad that you all mentioned that you all were well fed. Okay? We make an effort because we know you come from far. A lot of you come from far. And we want you, one of the things I've found is, no matter what anybody says, food is comfort. And trust me, you want to feel comfort when you're in such surroundings. You need the comfort. I feel so. Members of Parliament know that anytime we are sitting late, there's food because it's a necessary thing. But it's expensive. So when we spread it out over a few days, you know, that's why we sort of keep it to the 2 days. Okay? Now, I've also listened to what you said about more help. No, they made a remark about having less help. But in fact, when you look at how many people were in your group and how many people were in the other group, if you look at it that way, you will see that you all had more help than the other group. But we tried to spread it around because you need to have it. And we asked the members of Parliament to volunteer. We asked former members of parliament and former clerks of the house to volunteer, and they do come, and we're happy. I have to make special mention of Mrs. Jennifer White. Yes. She's our star person. Mrs. White, stand and take a bow, please. Mrs. White is a former clerk of the house, and she helps in every area, including putting the scripts together and getting everything organized. So we owe her a great debt. Can you give her a round of applause? The staff of the House of Assembly under Mr. James, we've been working tirelessly for 3 weeks getting this thing organized. And most days, well, 3 weeks intently, we've been sending out letters and doing all this before, but really 3 weeks, we've just been at it. Not only that, we were also simultaneously preparing completing the renovations of the house. In fact, we still are not complete. We have certain things that need to be done in terms of getting the remainder of the shutters put on and a few other bits and pieces to get done. So we're still not complete with the actual renovations of the house. We hope that that can be done by week after next. We've given ourselves the timeline that everything is going to be complete. So the House of Assembly staff were not only dealing with youth parliament, they were also seeing about the different renovations. Anybody who has done any bit of repair or renovations knows how much problem it is getting material. Hundreds of phone calls have to be made before you get the right size lumber, the right size anything. We have had to deal with all of that while we are preparing for the youth parliament. And for the last week, and even Saturday, staff were working until 7, 8 in the evening. So I really think we need to give them a round of applause. As for the more help, I really, when next we have it, if it is under my watch, I promise that I will do my best to get more help in terms of the practice as well as the training. One thing I will say though, in a slight defense, is that we sent off the motions quite early. And I'm going to ask a question, a rhetorical question, you need an answer. But how many of you really did any research before you came here with regard to the motion? You see? And how much of it did you do? Because you see, that is why we send it so much in advance. And we also tell you, be prepared to debate on either side. So you get a head start. We know the timeline is troubling. So that is why we send it very early, and we give you a head start to do your little research and so on. But I must say, whatever time it was you did your research, you all were very good. You guys deserve to give yourselves another round of applause. Well, yes, I'm being told that there was one extenuating circumstance. There was no lights, no internet. So a lot of people couldn't do the research as much as they wanted to in advance. I take that on. Okay? The other thing I think I should mention is that having a youth parliament, I think the last time we were trying to have it during the holidays, and it wasn't going to work. So we have to have it during school time, you see? And we have to sort of plan it way in advance. So not by way of making excuse, the easiest time that sort of fixes itself in anybody's, well, in my mind, for example, is Commonwealth Day. It's a Commonwealth thing, so we associate it with it. And may I tell you, Cayman Islands is also having its youth parliament today. Okay, so you're not alone. But they do theirs over how many days? They have it's a different thing. They spend a lot of money, maybe 10 times what we spend to get their youth parliament going. But we'll appeal to the Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, and see how we can rectify that. Now I'm being told that the results are ready. I see the judges are back. Thank you. Now for me, that's the best part. First of all, those who were there before know you have to practice the drum roll. Right. Okay? So now, this is what we are going to do. We are going to start with the third place on the government side. Get ready with your drum roll. Third place, Gayodin, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Daisy. Can you stand, please? And second place on the government side, drum roll please, Jared Jaja. And the best speaker on the government side, you know what? I'll do the opposition. Third place on the opposition side is Zindel Vidal or Vital. And the second place on the opposition side is Delbert Defoe. Now we have the first place on the government side, Sky George. And the best speaker on the opposition side was Adele Durand. And we have our role players. We had 3 role players. You all should remember who they were. The speaker, the clerk of the house, and the overall winner. First of all, I have to give you the best role player was deemed by the judges to be the clerk of the house. And I want to tell you, that's the first time we have the clerk of a house. Please give him another round. He was really. I have to come back to you with the overall winner. 1 minute. Digest the winners, and if winners bask in your glory, I'll be back. Time to do that. So we're on a day which we will notify the public and of course all of you winners and the judges and the trainers, etc. We will have the prize giving and award ceremony. So that will come on another day. Okay, now serious drum roll for the overall winner. Sky George. there you have it. We have the winners on the government side, the first, second, and third. We have the winners on the opposition side. We have the role player winner, and overall winner, the person who garnered the most points, is none other than Ms. Sky George of the government side. And so, to round things up, I'm going to call on the Clerk of the House, Mr. James, to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the government, Honorable Leader of the Opposition and members of the Parliamentary Opposition, members of the Dominica branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, judges, youth parliamentarians, other invited guests, principals, teachers, students, the media, ladies and gentlemen. I wish to first thank the Father God for this day and providing this opportunity. As Honorary Secretary of the CPA Dominica branch and Clerk of the House of Assembly, I extend a special thank you to everyone here today for sharing your time with us and participating in today's activities. Thank you, honorable members of the House, for gracing us with your presence. Thank you, judges, for providing us with your expertise. Thank you to the various members of Parliament, past members of Parliament, past staff of Parliament for conducting the training session with the youth parliamentarians. They were very good, I must admit. Thank you to the staff of the House who work, may I add, tirelessly, Madam Speaker, in making today's and yesterday a success it was. Your continued support and dedication is admired. Thank you for the youth parliamentarians for displaying your talents and taking up this challenge. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for ensuring that we host Youth Parliament 2018. Further, I wish to take this opportunity to thank all the institutions that participated. I also wish to show my appreciation to the corporate community and individuals who have contributed in cash or kind towards the hosting of Youth Parliament 2018. To the media houses, DBS, GIS, and those feeding from them for call up to bring this year's Youth Parliament live via radio and television, we say a big thank you. I'm quite sure that everyone here today is proud of what we have achieved. Again, I say thank you.
So, everyone, before I add my sine die, I will tell you that we have some pizza and drinks for the young people and their chaperones and those other persons who wish to avail themselves of the eats that are there. And we've asked the judges to come into my chambers where they can also have something to eat and drink. And I wish to thank everybody for being here, and I wish everybody safe trip home and a very warm good evening. Thank you all.